after the seemingly invincible 6th-ranked Rush was finally defeated. Emma the Slime's friend, Olivia, officially joined Emma's team. They were also joined by Kia, a wolf cub who was abandoned after taking on a human form. And Frel, the robot who once believed that vengeance was his sole reason for existence. During this period, Olivia awakened a new skill, her ego rage, while Frel gained a special passive ability called Overcharge, which he skillfully used to help them overcome the exam proctors. All these favorable circumstances miraculously converged, leading them to victory in their battle against the 5th-ranked Cynthia. This allowed them to recover 2 crucial items, with only 4 remaining to be found. Ignis understands that once she collects all 6 items, she can use them to resurrect her beloved brother, Taphas. With each ego awakening, she gains a deeper understanding of how to utilize her current form. To truly become powerful, Ignis needs to learn and experience a wide range of emotions. As long as the flame of her life continues to burn, she must persevere, regardless of how arduous her journey becomes. Ignis carried Olivia on her back, and feeling that Olivia needed to rest, gently placed her under a tree. Olivia was in a weakened state, but with great difficulty, she managed to speak, expressing her gratitude for being saved. Ignis then turned to Frel, asking him about his next steps. Frel smiled, admitting that, truthfully, he wasn't sure what to do as he hadn't made any plans. He shared with Ignis that Olivia had spoken about her after their test, mentioning Ignis's quest for revenge for her brother. Frel confided that he had experienced something similar in the past, though certainly not as profound as losing a family member. It all began with a simple notion. He recalled the fundamental questions he once posed to himself: why do I exist? Why was I ever born? At that time, he simply chose revenge against an enemy he deemed suitable, but it ultimately proved to be a misunderstanding. Waving his hand at Ignis, Frel suggested that perhaps seeking such a purpose might be the true essence of having a hirtan endless search for what one should live for or how to live. Although he was reluctant to admit it, he realized he was right. Having a heart was indeed complex. Ignis inquired about his immediate plans. Frel smiled again, guessing that he would have to figure that out from now on. Ignis sensed a peculiar feeling, as if Frel was organizing his thoughts, and she trusted that he would find his answers after her own revenge was complete. Ignis perceived Frel as wise and was confident he would soon discover his path. Frel grinned, clenched his hand, and extended it towards Ignis. They bumped hands, and Frel began to walk away. Meanwhile, Olivia lay on the ground, eating some flowers. Her eyes fluttered open, and as soon as they did, she began to cry loudly. The creator observed that Ignis had already found 2 items, musing that she was far more capable than he had anticipated. He recalled the meteor sword and grinned, hoping Ignis would arrive at its location sooner rather than later, believing that a game should inherently be enjoyable. A newscaster then delivered a report about the popular game Hidden Ego. He announced that an anonymous player had submitted a shocking report and, holding up a video clip, requested the authorities to review it. The video revealed significant recent changes among monsters. He was certain that not many people were aware that monsters with egos, or ego monsters, were emerging. The reporter informed viewers that more such reports had been filed, detailing instances of humanoid monsters roaming freely and even communicating in their own language. Some players had begun testing these monsters with human world knowledge, while others simply chose to hunt them down. Yet, a faction of players desired to protect these ego monsters. The reporter then posed a question to everyone: what would be the right course of action now that they knew these monsters possessed souls? He concluded that this issue demanded further discussion and, for now, it remained a matter within the game. After delivering the report, the program concluded. The scene shifted to Kang Woo, who asked Rush if he truly wanted to disclose such vital information. Rush agreed, telling Kang Woo it didn't matter because everyone who cared already knew. He expressed disbelief that Cynthia had betrayed him for a faulty item, attributing his loss to her because of that crummy item. Kang Woo could see that things were about to become chaotic. Rush declared that what goes around comes around and that Cynthia would get what she deserved. He believed they had just gotten rid of her before her full awakening. He then asked Kangwoo if he understood the extent of their loss. Kangwoo began to laugh while standing with a bandaged man. Rush asserted that if players started massacring the ego monsters of this world, then the Red Cape was to blame. He grinned, determined to capture Ignis. A girl wearing a hood appeared nearby. A small rabbit monster wondered if Ignis would indeed be blamed if people began killing the monsters. The rabbit monster exclaimed that they should never have allowed players to learn about ego monsters, calling the hooded girl a dummy for not keeping quiet. If the monsters ever faced danger, Ignis would surely be held responsible. Olivia told Ignis that her ears felt itchy. Ignis looked at Olivia, asking if something was wrong. Olivia replied that she thought someone was badmouthing them. Ignis then dismissed it, realizing she was just thinking about Olivia's clothes that they had left at the castle. Ignis informed Olivia that while the outfit suited her, it had a few issues, so they should get her out of it as soon as possible. Olivia was overjoyed at the prospect, asking Ignis if she looked great in her current attire. Ignis suggested they exchange more information before heading to their next destination. Olivia revealed that she had acquired the Ego of Rage, a skill called Seed of Fate, which she had planted inside the castle. It was an ultimate skill that allowed her to bloom a legendary level flower after a random count. She wondered why all her skills were related to flowers, despite her being a slime. Ignis then asked Olivia if she remembered losing her life in the Hidden Gardens Rush event. Olivia recalled it, stating that her ego was destroyed then, and she believed she respawned as a common monster in that exact spot. Ignis began to ponder that, by the looks of it, Olivia's death and respawn might have caused her attributes to intermix with her surroundings. When Olivia died and respawned, her ego had perished, and it was perhaps due to that error that her attributes blended with those of the flower garden. Olivia exhaled, "This world is complicated, but the concept of ego is the most confusing." She explained that when her skills were locked during her first battle with the Coin Guild, it wasn't because she had lost her power, but because she hadn't yet developed an ego. In this world, she learned more about using her body with each new emotion she acquired. It was as if the world was attempting to transform them, the monsters, into human beings. She wondered about the ultimate purpose of all this. Ignis then asked Olivia what kind of flower she had planted in the castle. However, Olivia was unsure, as she hadn't seen it herself. A notification about an unknown seed then appeared within the castle, stating that the seed of the unknown would bud in 180 by 9909,999 seconds. Olivia smiled, certain that whatever it was, it would be magnificent. Ignis suggested they move on and begin their journey. Olivia inquired about their destination. Ignis informed Olivia that the cross-bearing guy had told them the fourth-ranked individual was a vagabond, and the third-ranked was the World Tree. She reasoned that finding a wandering vagabond would be more challenging. Thus, Ignis decided to search for their next destination in the direction of the World Tree, and they began their journey towards it. However, the world isn't solely about killing and being killed, even for the top-ranked individuals. The third-ranked person, whose name is Nandemic, held his weapon tightly, resolute in his decision. He activated his skill to plow the field, feeling immense satisfaction in being able to farm again in this game, believing he was too old for it in real life. Nandemic spotted some sacks in the distance and sat down on the ground. A water pipe spurted, and Nandemic felt as if it was going to be a bumper harvest this year. Just then, an aged man stepped into the area. This man, Huang Sayakaon, was a novice class. He observed that Nandemic had not given up farming in the game and remarked that Nandemic should explain why anyone would wear armor while farming. Nandemic asked Huang if he was at it again, questioning if he ever got tired. Huang reminded Nandemic that he was the one who started playing this game in the first place, asking if Nandemic didn't think he had already done enough. Nandemic retorted that if that was all Huang had to say, he wasn't listening, waving him off. Huang insisted that Nandemic had done enough to atone for whatever past transgression and requested him to return to teaching. Nandemic refused, asserting that he couldn't do that because he had a responsibility. Huang gritted his teeth, frustrated by Nandemic's stubbornness. As Nandemic turned back to his farming, he asked Huang why he didn't give it a try, stating that he wanted to play properly if Huang was truly interested. However, Huang knew he was too old for it. Nandemic laughed upon hearing Huang, believing that no one truly knew until they tried for themselves. A few days after the battle with Cynthia, they arrived at their next stop, which didn't seem like much of a destination. It was the 5th annual agriculture festival. Upon seeing it, Ignis asked Olivia if they had taken a wrong turn. Olivia, however, was overjoyed and enthusiastically pointed it out to Ignis. At that moment, a man approached them, assuring them that they had indeed come to the right place. The man, who introduced himself as Kim Natural, the festival MC, welcomed them to the agriculture festival. He then began to pull both of them towards the application forms. Olivia, running alongside, told Ignis they should definitely give it a try. Ignis questioned Olivia's sincerity, asking if she was joking about the 5th annual agriculture festival. On the other side of the story, a skeletal figure on Glow's shoulder felt stuck with nothing to do, as the absolute quest was still far off. Glow observed that there was still much karma to go through. He stopped at a certain point, sensing an immense power emanating from within. He smirked, believing that this was going to be fun. A monster awakened from its slumber, wondering how long it had been asleep. She thanked the familiar scent for waking her up, sensing a hint of human mixed with what she was sure was the scent of Floritha's son. She questioned if it was Taffas. Glow was stepping towards the monster, from which the immense light was emerging. The monster saw his arrival and was shocked to realize he wasn't Taffas, but merely a human. Although she had expected Taffas, Glow was surprised to be called a mere human. He assured her he would make her regret saying that. He activated his skill, Cursed Bone Tree, and struck the monster. The monster remained unharmed by Glow's attack and glared at him. She activated her blaze, burning his bone tree. Glow was astonished that the monster had burned his bone tree and that the heat had poisoned the air. He knew this would have been dangerous if not for his high level and class. He activated his skill, Bone Soul Cage, and leaped towards the monster. He jumped on the monster and punched her. The monster was sent flying a considerable distance after his punch. In the meantime, Glow activated Soul Explosion, clenched his hand, and used Taffas's item. The monster was stunned to see him using Taffas's item and demanded to know how he had acquired it. Glow had no idea. When she got behind him, she clenched her hand and snatched the item from him. She told Glow that the item belonged to Taffas, Ignis's brother. Glow became frustrated with the monster, insisting that it wasn't her item. The monster then used her skills, and as soon as she activated them, chains appeared. She told Glow that he wasn't the only one who could use skills. Glow sighed, realizing he hadn't noticed this earlier. She then shattered the object that had held Glow, believing the time had come for her to fulfill her promise. The scene shifted back to the festival, where Kim began a brief introduction to their event. He explained that it was an annual occasion featuring contests with numerous fabulous prizes. Additionally, users who didn't enjoy player-versus-player combat could earn absolute quest rewards. Ignis asked what an absolute quest entailed and if they needed one. Kim opened a screen in front of her, revealing 12 million points. Kim was shocked by the amount, believing it was enough for her to compete in the absolute battle. He told her she needed to defeat one of the top rankers to earn that many points. Olivia informed Ignis that she had about 60,000 points, adding up what she received from the Hunter, Adventurer, and Proctor, making 12 million seem like an enormous sum to her. Kim assured them that if they didn't need absolute points, there would surely be other appealing rewards. They reached the land where farmers were busy with their work. Kim drove rapidly in a car with Olivia and Ignis as passengers. They arrived at their destination after a while and exited the vehicle. While walking, Kim began to explain the rules, informing them that the place was enchanted with a growth boost, causing all crops to fully mature in just 4 days. He told them they could grow any crops they could imagine there. Ignis observed the empty land, which was devoid of anything. Olivia was incredibly excited to see the empty land, becoming overly hyped. Their first mission was to grow the best crop within the next 4 days. Ignis asked Kim where they were supposed to get the seeds. Kim noticed Ignis's eagerness and told her that she certainly couldn't get any there. He asked her to let him explain everything. He told her that they rented out a piece of land to each contestant, like the one they were on. He informed them that farming tools could be obtained in the central area. Pointing in a direction, he told them the seeds were right this way. Olivia and Ignis went to the central area for their farming tools. Ignis saw that the central region was very crowded. Olivia started looking around, observing that everyone else also seemed busy. Kim pointed to a specific spot and informed Ignis that was where she could get her seeds. A boy named Chocolate Mint, a beginner class, realized he simply had to hit the hay bags to get seeds. He hit the bag with his best effort, receiving 4 frank sweet potato seeds. Chocolate Mint became sad, disappointed with the sweet potatoes. At that same instant, another man, who appeared to be a bodybuilder, tapped him on the shoulder and told him to step aside. The bodybuilder concluded that the event was meant for him. He tightened his fist and slammed the bag. After striking the bag, he acquired 200 brank pumpkin seeds. Chocolate Mint's eyes welled up with tears, and he decided to quit the game. Ignis realized that they got seeds by attacking the bag. Kim laughed and told Ignis she could say that. She asked Kim if there were any restrictions on the type of weapon or skill. Kim confirmed there were no limits. Olivia decided to go first. She activated her skill, All-Out Pitch, grabbed her arrow, and struck the bag using Memorialia de Emma. A thunderous banging sound occurred, and Olivia received 70 brank strawberry seeds. Kim complimented Olivia, telling her it was quite impressive. Olivia thanked him. Ignis observed the situation, feeling a surge of power that even made Olivia a little nervous. Ignis believed they were doing it correctly. She activated her rage skill and delivered a brutal hit. With Ignis's impact, the ground rumbled, and all the other players fell due to the intense energy. Ignis obtained 2,500 Rankus plus golden potato seeds. Olivia was thrilled by the hit, telling Ignis it was over the top. Ignis grinned. They both sat in the car with the seeds they had collected. They returned to the same empty plot of land to farm those seeds. They farmed throughout the entire day. Time passed, and by evening, they both sat under a tree, utterly exhausted. Olivia told Ignis she was too tired, as it had involved a lot of moving around. Ignis expressed her appreciation for Olivia. Olivia apologized to Ignis for involving her in this when she should be focused on finding her brother. Ignis laughed, asking Olivia if that was what she was worried about, assuring her it was perfectly fine. Olivia then told Ignis that she wanted to spend as much time with her as possible, as this moment could be their last together. Ignis became emotional. She looked at Olivia, who confided that she couldn't deny the fact that she could have died many times if not for Ignis's cape. She told Ignis she knew she wasn't as strong as her, so her death wouldn't be a surprise. Yet, the thought still terrified her. That's why she wanted to take the time to do something memorable. Ignis immediately hugged Olivia tightly, declaring that they would win this festival no matter what. Olivia smiled, comforted by these soothing words. Ignis promised Olivia that she wouldn't let what happened to Emma occur again, determined to protect Olivia wherever they went. On the other hand, Nandemic went to meet Kim, who noted that Nandemic had finally arrived. He told Nandemic, the champion of their last festival, that they had been waiting for him all day. On the second day of the agricultural festival, Ignis and Olivia stood side by side, and Ignis observed that nothing had sprouted yet. Olivia knew they had used fertilizer and watered the seeds, and since the time limit was 4 days, they should start sprouting any moment now. Ignis began to wonder if they had done something wrong. Olivia told Ignis that they had to try everything they could, after all, it had only been 1 day. Ignis agreed with Olivia and decided to proceed. Both of them started planting the seeds. Olivia took soil and began spreading it on all sides. They both watered it. Olivia then sat under the tree, and after watering the seeds, she started reading a book. Ignis looked at her and smiled. They didn't know what the future held, but they knew they had tried their best, and finally, the last day arrived. Ignis was sleeping under the tree shade when Olivia came to her and started waking her up. She told her to wake up. As soon as Ignis opened her eyes, she saw Olivia smiling. Olivia informed Ignis that it had worked. They had their fruit. Ignis stood up to go with her to see it, and they both walked to the land where they had farmed. Ignis saw the fruits that had grown there, just as Olivia had said. She asked Olivia how much time they had left. Olivia saw that it was exactly midnight and they had to submit their crops by 1 a.m., leaving them 1 hour. The scene shifted to Kim, who was sitting and judging all the players. He looked at his watch, noting that only 1 minute was left. He guessed he could start wrapping things up and decided to determine the winner. Just as he was about to make the announcement, Ignis and Olivia suddenly entered. Ignis was carrying their crops on her shoulder. She told Kim to wait because they hadn't turned in their crops yet. Kim became happy and excited at the same time. He believed the best way to judge the fruit was by tasting it, so he informed everyone he would do so now. He placed his plate on the table and told them to begin. Contestant number 12 approached him with his apples and bananas. Kim tasted both and found them delicious, though he told contestant 12 that the soil seemed to have been over-fertilized. After contestant 12, it was contestant number 40's turn to present his blueberries to Kim. After tasting the blueberries, Kim complimented them but also informed him that the fruit was sensitive to dryness and could have used more water. And so, time went on, and the contest was drawing to a close. Ignis and Olivia placed their golden potatoes and strawberries on the plate. Kim grinned, remembering them. Olivia and Ignis looked at him. Kim picked up both. After tasting them, Kim told both of them that there was inadequate fertilization, watering, and insufficient exposure to sunshine. Honestly, he said, these were quite disappointing. Olivia stared at him, surprised by the negative review. Ignis looked at Olivia and consoled her, saying it was perfectly fine because they had tried their best, which was all they could do. All of a sudden, Kim declared that it was a pass from him. They were both stunned to hear that he had passed them. Kim acknowledged that it was their first time farming. He sensed something unique in their crops beyond just knowledge or know-how. He could feel the tremendous effort they had poured into them, and that was something they wouldn't lose to any other contestant. The girls had done their homework, even though they were unfamiliar with farming. He could still see that they had truly given their field their all for the past 4 days. Olivia became emotional, starting to cry with joy. Ignis looked at Olivia, asking if she was all right. Olivia told Ignis that she was just so happy their efforts were finally being recognized. Ignis realized they hadn't chosen to be born into a world inside a video game, but at that moment, she thought there was a silver lining to this situation. Perhaps this was what Frel had meant. Maybe they were meant to discover a whole new world. Kim gave them a present and took out his camera. He snapped a picture of them with his camera and handed them a participation certificate. On a sunny day, Ignis asked Olivia what outfit she had received as her prize. Olivia asked Ignis if she should try it on. Ignis told her that dressing as Cynthia's guards could cause problems for them later, so she thought they should change it now. They were informed that a fitting room was available there. Olivia was amazed to see they even had changing rooms. Olivia entered the fitting room and stepped out after changing her outfits. She saw that this outfit was undoubtedly different from the other one. She asked Ignis how she looked. The dress she wore was the limited item called the Dress of the Black Witch. Ignis told Olivia that she looked very pretty. Olivia was happy to hear the sweet compliment from Ignis. Ignis extended her hand to Olivia, telling her that this world might be much better than she had imagined. Olivia recalled the memory of leaving Emma behind. She placed her hand in Ignis's. Ignis believed that if not for Olivia, she wouldn't have survived, let alone dreamed of saving her brother. She thanked Olivia. Ignis was curious to know who had come in first place in the contest. However, Olivia didn't think they had announced it yet. Kim had already announced the second and third place winners, so he grabbed the microphone to announce the first prize. Finally, the time had come to acknowledge the first place winner. Ignis didn't understand why everyone was so hyped about that person. Olivia told her that she had heard the individual was also last year's champion. Just then, Mandemic stepped in to receive his gold prize. He was honored. As soon as Ignis saw him, she was surprised, remembering that he was the human who had killed her brother. Olivia looked at Ignis's tense face, asking if something was wrong, as Ignis looked worried. Ignis told Olivia that she had found the person who killed her brother. Olivia clenched her teeth upon hearing this. Ignis warned Olivia to be careful because he was ranked number 3, and she knew there was a high chance he was more potent than Cynthia. Ignis decided to approach him after the contest officially finished. Later, Kim announced that it was time to conclude their agricultural festival. He informed everyone about the exit and instructed them to follow the assistants, also thanking everyone for their excellent work. The crowd then exited the place individually. The scene changed to Mandemic, who was walking alone from the farms. He found the contest much more enjoyable than he had expected, and now he had one more trophy to add to his collection. Suddenly, he saw Ignis with Olivia. Ignis told Mandemic she had a bone to pick with him. Mandemic saw them following him and asked who they were. Ignis told him that he possessed an item that belonged to her, and she had come to retrieve it. Mandemic had been receiving many player-versus-player requests ever since the Absolute Quest became a thing, so he asked Ignis if that meant they were enemies. He became enraged, and they could sense an overwhelming power emanating from him. Olivia knew he must be the one who killed Ignis's brother, so she understood he had to be strong. Ignis had already anticipated this confrontation. Mandemic told Ignis it would be better for her to attack him with everything she had. They both rushed towards each other with all their might. They stood poised, ready to strike one another. The fight began between them, but the monster held Taphas's item. She had no idea how Taphas's item was in human hands. She knew he wouldn't have been defeated so quickly if he had only had an ego. Well, she guessed she would find out if she managed to escape. She moved her hand forward, pointing towards the ground's surface. She used her energy and broke the ground, creating a hole. After seeing the path she had just made, she wondered if she should go. Ignis and Mandemic were engaged in a fierce fight, both attacking each other, using the strengths within their bodies to strike blows. Dust began to billow in the air during their intense confrontation. Olivia saw their sheer force colliding, enough to sweep her off her feet, realizing this was not a fight she could participate in. Ignis saw that Mandemic was strong, but she believed she could handle this much damage, though she thought it might be because he wasn't using his weapons. Ignis realized she needed to understand him better to defeat him. She guessed she had to force him to unsheath his weapons. She created a magic circle around Mandemic. And Ignis instantly activated her skill, Flame Impact. The blazes surged high into the air. Ignis reached her hand into the blaze to grab Mandemic. In the meantime, she demonstrated her fire explosion skills, causing a sudden boom. She remembered that all Zero Guild members she had fought possessed a hidden skill they saved for emergencies. So, she believed she would need to pace herself until she discovered his fighting style. She gripped her sword tightly and activated her skill, Dragon's Call. She held her sword, ready to strike him. Mandemic knew he would be in danger, even if he took that hit directly to the face. But now she told him it was his time to die. Mandemic activated his skill and removed his second shield from the heavenly prison. The flash of their powers began to emerge. She saw that he had finally unsheathed his weapons, and immediately, without wasting a single second, she activated the dragon's first ego with the Rage Truth. She was holding the Sword of Rage, called Meteor. On the same side, Mandemic had also activated his skills. The very moment their skills collided, everyone in the game, including Mandemic and Ignis, felt something a chilling sensation, to put it into words. They stared at each other as their powers collapsed. They both jumped far away to save themselves from the harm of each other's attacks. Mangacaps saw that they had missed this time and assured Ignis that it wouldn't happen next time. Ignis was also firm that it wouldn't happen again. Holding the sword in her hand, she stepped towards Manhwa. Manhwa also leaped towards Ignis. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Olivia stepped between them, stopping them. Ignis was confused by Olivia's actions. Olivia told Ignis that they needed to talk. Olivia then looked at Manhwa and told him they didn't have to fight, instead, they could speak. She asked Manhwa, believing him to be a good person. Manhwa looked at Olivia and questioned what made her think he was a good person. Olivia smiled and told him they had tried their best in that farming contest and won a prize, which indicated true passion. She believed that a person awarded for such passion could never be evil. Manhwa, after hearing Olivia, started laughing abruptly. He decided to listen to what Olivia had to say to him. They talked about everything they had experienced, including how Ignis lost her brother and their journey for revenge. Manhwa asked them if they meant they were ego monsters. Ignis agreed and further informed him that he possessed one of her brother's items. Suddenly, a notification appeared in front of him about the hidden quest of the World Tree. He read the line on the screen, stating that he needed to save the World Tree from evil beings. It was mentioned that if he failed, the balance of this world would collapse. He was supposed to defend his world. But he realized it was his world that he needed to save his life. He asked Ignis if she didn't want this world to collapse. He decided to make a deal and, in that case, took out Taphas's item, which he had with him, Taphas's armor. Ignis saw her brother's item. Manhwa offered Ignis to complete the quest with him, and then he would give her the item from her brother. Olivia told Ignis that they should give Manhwa a chance. And so, Ignis, the Dragon of Destruction, Olivia, the Flower Slime, and Manhwa, ranked 3rd in guild number 0, miraculously decided to join forces for a common quest. The chilling sensation that Ignis and Manhwa felt during their battle had transcended beyond them to the rest of the world, including the cross-bearing guy who saw that it had finally begun. The scene moved to some monsters who thanked the cross-bearing guy for saving them, as he had saved all their lives. Over half of them had been killed by a human intruder, but thanks to him, the rest had survived. The monster told the cross-bearing guy that they were very thankful he came to save them, but they couldn't help but wonder why he did that. The cross-bearing guy told them it was not yet time for the ego monsters to die. However, he believed they wouldn't understand even if he told them, but he thought the dragon girl, Ignis, might find the answer if they were lucky. One of the monsters asked him what he meant by saying this. The cross-bearing guy opened his wings. He started flapping them and, without saying a single word, simply flew away. The monster concluded that the cross-bearing guy was like an angel. That chilling sensation meant that it had come to life at last. If that was true, then there was only one thing it would head for before anything else, the World Tree. The cross-bearing guy knew this would happen one way or another. He didn't know about the others, but he was sure that he would go to protect the World Tree. A screen appeared in front of him. He tapped on the screen and learned that a battle was about to take place. He flapped his wings and flew away. Another window materialized before Manhwa. Gazing at the screen, he mused if these were the precise coordinates of the World Tree, also seeing references to the hidden land of Yggdrasil. Manhwa informed Ignis that someone had just sent him these coordinates. Ignis asked Manhwa if this meant they now knew their destination. Manhwa acknowledged that even if this was a trap, they had no better alternatives. Therefore, he declared they would visit this place and then questioned Ignis about her thoughts. Ignis resolutely stated that if it proved to be a trap, she would eliminate whoever awaited them there. Olivia commented on Ignis's attitude but confirmed her willingness to join. Team Ignis was now en route to the World Tree. Meanwhile, the little rabbit monster felt unsure where to begin her story, but wondered if someone might be willing to listen for a while. It was just a few months prior, when a player had brutally slashed her. She shrieked in immense pain. The player, noting that her kind yielded more experience points than other monsters, found killing her far more enjoyable. He observed that she was the last one left. She witnessed the lifeless bodies of her kin and smelled the pungent stench of death in the air. The little rabbit monster pleaded with the human player to stop. She stumbled to the ground after stepping on the hand of one of the deceased. The human player told the little rabbit monster that it was time to die. She watched him, knife in hand, as he raised his arm to strike her. Pink Wally-Eye, the little rabbit monster, desperately prayed for someone to save her. Suddenly, a guy appeared and activated his skill, Stone Shower. With the Stone Shower, the attacking player was killed. The newcomer asked the monster if she was hurt. She, in turn, asked him who he was. He introduced himself to the pink rabbit as a hero who protected monsters. She recalled that when she made a mistake, the hero who had protected the monster extended his hand toward her. She thought she should not have taken that hand. She took his hand, and they departed from the scene together. As they walked, she inquired what kind of monster he was. He revealed that he was a hero golem and that he saved monsters. She then understood that he was a golem. The golem told her she couldn't follow him, so he asked her to wait. He explained that he needed to save as many monsters as he could, and it often became dangerous. She started crying upon hearing that he was going to leave her there. The golem acknowledged that humans were powerful, even though he didn't fully comprehend their capabilities. He apologized but requested her to understand his perspective. She loudly and thunderously told him to wait. She questioned him about the value of saving a life only to abandon it later. She called him stupid and demanded that he take responsibility for his actions. The golem stopped, turned his face back towards her, and warned her that she could get herself killed. He asked her if she was all right with that. She asserted that it didn't matter what happened, it would be better than dying there alone. And in this way, their adventure began. Somewhere in a hunting ground within the game Hidden Ego, a cat monster pleaded for help. A human player told the cat monster that she didn't deserve to be as frightened as humans. He told her to give up because she was a dead cat. The human player began to advance toward the cat monster, who continuously wished for someone to help her. The human player was about to strike the cat monster when Glow suddenly appeared. He glared at the human player and smashed him. The robot demanded to know how Glow dared to interfere. He decided he must kill Glow, and the human player punched Glow. Glow was enduring life-threatening punches when the little rabbit monster tapped the cat monster's shoulder. The little rabbit told the cat monster to calm down and assured her that she was also a monster, just like her. Upon hearing this, the cat monster felt relieved. The little rabbit monster took the cat monster's hand and told her they should leave. She instructed her that they must escape while her friend bought them some time. The cat monster decided to follow her instructions. Each of them had their role in rescuing monsters. Glow kept the attacker preoccupied while he led the monsters to safety. However, things didn't always go their way. More robots began to arrive. They decided to deal with the interloper. The golem gulped. The fight commenced between them. The cat monster was holding the little rabbit monster's hand. And both of them ran quickly, escaping from that place and ensuring their safety. After they had covered a significant distance, the little rabbit stopped. She thought they had reached a sufficiently distant place. She gave a stone to the cat monster and told her to take it. The cat monster asked what the item was that she was giving her. She patted the cat monster's head and explained that it was their responsibility. The cat monster didn't understand what she meant by their responsibility. She informed the cat monster that keeping it activated for about 10 minutes would warp her to a place where monsters could be safe. She apologized, stating that they couldn't do anything more for them because they weren't strong enough. The cat monster activated it, and a flashing light appeared. She promised the cat monster that for those remaining 10 minutes, she would do everything in her power to protect her. A robot appeared, having found the two of them, whom they had missed earlier. The little rabbit monster gulped upon seeing the robot. They were a small rescue group for stray monsters. They spent every bit of money they had to purchase the cheapest warp stones on the market. It wasn't anything grand or fancy, but it gave them purpose and pride. The cat monster thanked the little rabbit monster for saving her life. The little rabbit monster told the cat monster to go there and live her life. Night fell, and the golem approached the little rabbit. He remarked that they were a mess, and the little rabbit monster laughed, agreeing they were indeed a mess. They were small, but their egos made them more potent than other monsters. The more emotions they acquired, the better they controlled their bodies. They were leading a humble but fulfilling life that they thought would last forever. The golem called out to the little rabbit monster and told her he had heard that humans had names they used to address each other. The golem suggested that they should give each other one beneath the star-flooded sky. They promised to come up with names for each other. On the other side of the story, Tanya was speaking with Cynthia through a screen. She told her not to be so paranoid, as there was no need, the guards would only hinder them. She told Cynthia to wait a second, as she would call her back after some time because she thought she smelled some ego monsters behind the tree. The little rabbit monster was happy the golem came to save her that day. They both risked their lives but saved many monsters. She asked him if he felt the same, emphasizing that the life they shared meant a lot to her, perhaps it was what she was born for. The golem told her it meant a lot to him as well, acknowledging he couldn't have saved the monsters without her. He looked forward to working with her, and she reciprocated the sentiment. She asked if they should discuss names, suddenly feeling shy. He reassured her there was nothing to be embarrassed about and decided to find a name for her. She asked what he thought of the name she would give him, a name that painted the world with his colors. She was about to reveal it when Tinia splashed ice on him. He immediately told the little rabbit monster to get into battle position, recognizing Tinia's attack. Tinia smirked, apologizing for eavesdropping, and questioned if they truly rescued stray monsters. Something she'd never seen ego monsters do. The golem asked who she was. Tinia declared herself a human, his natural enemy, and immediately activated her wave of ice skill, surrounding them both in ice. The golem smashed the ice, while the little rabbit also readied her weapon, glaring at Tinia and rushing forward. Tinia warned them there was a fine line between bravery and recklessness. She slashed the little rabbit monster, who fell to the ground. The little rabbit activated her bunny step skill, telling Tinia to be ready. Tinia complimented her timing but reminded her that not everything always went their way. She was about to strike the little rabbit, who knew she couldn't dodge in midair. She realized this human was different from those she'd fought before, wondering if this was the end. As the attack was about to hit, the golem stepped in, saving her. With a sudden booming noise, he created a shield for the little rabbit monster. He told her they might not make it this time, expressing sorrow, and said it was time to say goodbye. He asked the little rabbit monster to promise him she would live. He activated an ego skill, and the little rabbit monster was trapped inside. Confused, she questioned what he was doing, telling him to stop messing around, believing they could win together against Tinia. The wall closed, trapping her inside. Tinia and the golem were left outside, about to fight. Tinia asked the golem why he locked up the rabbit instead of her. He explained that his skill was a strong defense but easy to break, so Tinia would have escaped quickly. Tinia smirked, as if she had never heard of an ego skill, finding him something worth studying. She told him he was right about not making it this time. He said goodbye to the little rabbit monster. A sudden bang occurred, the little rabbit monster started crying. The little rabbit monster started crying. It wasn't until light flooded in from the cracks in the rock that she knew morning had come. The next day, sparrows chirped, and light filtered in. Her hand was bleeding. She realized she never got to tell him her name. The shield cracked, and the injured little rabbit emerged. She followed what looked like the rocks he left behind, finding the last one not far away. She picked up the precious stone, seeing the blood around her. Tinia had cut him into pieces. She cried abruptly, sorry that she couldn't protect him. The death of a nameless golem happened on a tranquil morning. She made up her mind to do 3 things. First, she would never save a monster again. Second, she would not try to change anything. And third, she would survive. She returned to the place, and a man emerged from a camp. Jack, the information broker, asked her, "If it's not our regular Miss Bunny Rabbit, what do you have to offer this time?" She carried a bag, telling him these were challenging items for humans to get, even rarer than her last offerings. Jack, who sold information about humans to ego monsters so they could hide in peace, asked what she expected him to do with them. She yelled that they were valuable items. Jack retorted that these junk items weren't worth a few thousand gold, stating he made real profit from other ego monsters, not her. He added that ego monsters sold for a great price, at least 10 million gold per head. She sighed, turning away, saying she was calling it off. Jack wondered who was saying this. She gritted her teeth, regretting trusting humans. Jack told her not to worry, that the place she was going to was full of useless monsters like her, and her master was friendly. Guys from his party rushed toward the little rabbit monster. One put his hand on her shoulder. And she sighed. They held her, put her on their shoulder, and left. Jack told them to make sure they paid up, feeling bad for the little rabbit monster, but believing she should have known they lived in two different worlds. The scene shifted to the little rabbit, who sensed a strong chemical smell, wondering where she was. She was captured in chains, unable to break free. She heard someone approaching. Tinia appeared, smiling devilishly, asking the little rabbit monster if they knew each other. The little rabbit monster gritted her teeth. Tinia revealed that Miss Cynthia gave up the battle after fighting Ignis, but she wouldn't. She informed the little rabbit monster that this was her secret lab, unknown to Miss Cynthia. She couldn't abandon her plans just yet for Miss Cynthia, considering her a savior. The leaders were providing her with the necessary technology, no strings attached, implying their secret agreement. She decided to show something cool. She placed her hand on a screen, which started beeping. A wall rumbled, and a door opened, revealing many glass jars. Tinia said most were empty, only half the number from the castle, but with this technology, they could restart any time. She told the little rabbit monster she had met some of these monsters already. The little rabbit monster saw the golem in one of the jars. The golem questioned her about giving up on rescuing ego monsters. The little rabbit shouted that it wasn't what he thought. The golem called her a coward, regretting saving her. Tinia realized the little rabbit monster was hallucinating due to trauma. The little rabbit monster cried, apologizing to him. Tinia approached her, saying not to worry because she would die soon. Her hopes for change had turned into something horrible. If she hadn't taken his hand that day, he wouldn't have died. She thought it was all her fault and cried. As tears streamed down her face, she looked at him with sad, teary eyes. Tinia felt that utter despair did not bring out a new ego. She found it disappointing but didn't care. They had invested an enormous amount in this project. Miss Cynthia gave up, but stopping now would be a greater loss. Realizing they couldn't stop, she held a blade. The little rabbit monster thought she deserved to die, having turned her back on other monsters for herself. She felt she didn't deserve to live and should never have survived. Tinia informed her she would soon be unconscious and used according to the plan. She told her to look bright, as she wouldn't suffer anymore, and said goodbye. Just as Tinia was about to kill her, an eruption occurred. Ignis stepped in, asking the rabbit monster if she thought it was too early to give up. Tinia saw Ignis with Nandemic and Olivia. Ignis noted Tinia was up to her old tricks again, hoping she was prepared to die. Tinia realized she was meeting Ignis again. Ignis had a long-held ability, rarely seen, but she definitely felt it. Ignis sensed a flame nearby. Nandemic asked Ignis what she meant by the flame. Olivia asked the same. Ignis told them a sea monster was nearby and she could sense many egos about to fade, and one devastated ego. Olivia told Ignis they must save those ego monsters. And Ignis agreed. This was how they found the place to save those ego monsters. Tinia saw them. After all they had been through, they finally reached here. She was curious how they found this place but deemed it irrelevant now. Olivia gritted her teeth. seeing the same story repeating, irreversible things happening one after another. Olivia yelled at Tinia, demanding to know why she would do such a thing. Tinia saw Olivia again, asking if she remembered the answer she gave last time. When asked the same question, she stated they would never understand each other. Ignis told her she would have to make her understand if she couldn't. Tinia asked Ignis what made her think everything would work out for her. Unlike Miss Cynthia, she wasn't afraid to play dirty. She was determined that their project must be completed. She went near the monster control stone. Ignis wondered if that was the monster control stone Cynthia had mentioned. Tinia clicked on the screen. The monster control stone started beeping. Ignis decided to shred it to pieces. She moved her hand forward toward the monster control stone. Tinia told Ignis she would never do that if she were her. Ignis had no idea what this thing was, feeling she shouldn't get any closer. She started losing consciousness. The scene shifted to a snowy place where Ignis saw a red long-haired girl. Ignis wondered who that girl was and why she felt immeasurable sadness. The red long-haired girl told Ignis she had the ability to feel the flame, asking if she was correct. Olivia didn't know, but Ignis could sense it right away. She knew Frel was an ego monster, even though he tried to hide it. Ignis asked the long-haired girl who she was, and if she was someone important to her. She apologized, saying she couldn't tell her, but clarified Ignis would find out when the right time came. She told Ignis to remember 3 things. First, to fulfill her duty as the protector to protect her family and always watch for it. She remembered the terrifying sensation she felt that day. She moved her hand across Ignis' face, sensing how much she had grown. Ignis suddenly regained consciousness, returning to the present. She put her hand on her face, wondering what she had just experienced. Olivia looked at Ignis, asking if she was okay. Mandemic raged at Tinia, asking how she dared to do that. He realized Ignis was right all along about the skill that only worked with monsters. He started stepping toward Tinia, who became scared. She asked him who he was, and Mandemic asked Tinia if Cynthia never told her about him. He thought it was time for her to learn about him. They stood near Tinia. Mandemic asked her how she dared to do something like this in this world. Tinia saw that he was a player who roamed with ego monsters. She thought it would suit someone like him. So she tapped on her screen, which started beeping. Some glass jars opened. And monsters started stepping out. Tinia told Mandemic that he got along pretty well with monsters in this world, asking if she was correct. She informed Mandemic that she had a trigger to kill these ego monsters in the blink of an eye and wasn't afraid to use it if he came any closer. She told him to get out of her face before she pressed the button. The time it took for her to cast her skills versus pressing the button was obviously faster for the latter. He had to protect the world. If ego monsters were a part of it, he couldn't let them die and disappear into nothing. The rabbit monster couldn't believe it, wondering if they were still alive. The little rabbit monster saw the golem and asked him if he still remembered her. The golem stared at her but didn't answer. Tinia told the rabbit monster that the golem didn't remember her at all, clarifying it was pointless because he was no longer the monster she knew. She told her he had become fiercer. And the golem continued to look at her with anger. He approached the little rabbit monster, grabbed her neck, and squeezed it. Her eyes became teary. She asked him what he was doing and if he didn't remember her. Ignis and Olivia were disabled due to system limitations. Mandemic couldn't act because the ego monsters were held hostage. At this point, Tinia seemed like an impregnable fortress to them. The little rabbit started losing her senses, wondering what she was doing and why. She questioned why she was only given these unbearable emotions and what she was supposed to do. She wondered if this wasn't enough, especially if it wouldn't change how it ended. She started saying sorry, knowing she wasn't strong enough. She said goodbye as she started losing consciousness. Ignis yelled at her, telling her not to give up. She told her that if she gave up, everything would end. She asked the little rabbit monster if she was sure she was okay with that. Her heart was burning, and her heartbeat rang in her ears, like remembering something she had forgotten for a long time. The golem told her that the golem attacking her wasn't him. Sadly, he no longer existed in her world, but he had come to tell her something. He told her she didn't need to feel guilty for not rescuing monsters. He told her she could do whatever she wanted, but he requested her to try to keep her promise, the one where they swore to stay alive. She started gaining her first ever ego, which was Hope. Hope was Paoko Kai's first ego. Tinia clenched her teeth, seeing she had found her ego just now. Mandemic thanked the little rabbit monster. Meanwhile, Tinia activated her skill, 10th Shield of Space Prison. She gritted her teeth, seeing time stopped around her arm. She muttered that first he spoke about Miss Cynthia, and next they used such a powerful skill on her. She thought for a moment and called him a monster. She sprinted toward the little rabbit monster and activated her skill bunny triple step to hit her. Her eyes shone bright with rage. The golem told her it was okay if countless hardships were thrown her way. He smiled, telling her he knew she would be able to overcome them. Tinia decided not to give up. She saw those ego monsters would be played with and abandoned in the end. She thought ego monsters like them were good anyway, like lab rats behind glass. The little rabbit monster was happy to see that she did it. Ignis kept looking at her. The little rabbit monster was satisfied, having done it. She wondered what she was going to do with all these monsters. This feeling she had felt this way before. Their flames had been damaged beyond repair. There was nothing they could do for them. They were in excruciating pain. She thought she must set them free. And Ignis said they should let them be. That was the only thing they could do for them at this point. She did have a feeling that she might be too late already. Then she would free them with her own hands at least. The little rabbit monster saw the golem and told him she saw him there. She told him she saw him, and she remembered standing there in a place that seemed like an endless ocean. She told him she didn't know where that place was, but he didn't seem to be in pain. This meant he wouldn't have to suffer anymore. She asked him if she was correct. She told him sorry, but that he would have to wait a while for her to get there. She requested him to come greet her when she did. She told him he was still alive in her, and he told her to stay alive. So that was what she would do, and she would never give up again. The little rabbit monster started laughing. She once thought the monsters didn't stand a chance. So, to fool herself, she made up excuses about why she had to die, believing she was too small and weak to make a change. She even went so far as to hate Ignis for letting them ego monsters be known, believing that she was the reason humans started hunting them in the first place. But now she saw she was the one who would fight for them until the end. Perhaps she could actually be the one who would change this world for the better. He was standing in front of the little rabbit monster, who was constantly crying. The golem grinned at the little rabbit monster. The little rabbit monster smiled faintly at the golem. She decided not to say goodbye. Instead, she decided to tell him that she would see him later. The scene changed, and they all got out of Tinia's basement. Mandemic questioned who would have thought something like this would happen on their way to the World Tree. It turned out everything she told him was true, which was all the more reason they should join forces. He raised his hands toward Ignis, reminding her not to forget to hand over the item to him. To Ignis, he was still the evil being who killed her brother. It was all so complicated. He wondered what would come of this world. Ignis asked him what she was planning to do. Olivia told her that if she didn't have anywhere to go, she could join them. Ignis moved her hand toward Olivia, telling her to wait and that they should hear what she had to say. The little rabbit monster told them that she thought she was too weak to make a change. But seeing them made her believe they could make a change together. So, yes, she wanted to go on an adventure with her. Ignis stepped toward the little rabbit monster, telling her that she could even die in that, confirming if she was okay with it. And the little rabbit monster remembered the question she had already heard before. She wondered how she answered back then. She had said she would rather follow him than get killed there. But no, it wasn't about getting killed. She would survive and make a change. However, their story hadn't been done quite yet. She asked the little rabbit monster if she would stay a little longer and listen to the tales of their adventure. Logging out from account Tinia. She put her headphones aside. She was tired after playing the game. She stood up from her bed and saw that everything went up in smoke again, just like always. She grabbed the cup from the side table and questioned how that happened. She didn't understand why that thing happened. She threw the cup toward the wall and wondered if it must always be this way. She broke the cup in anger, knowing she had tried her best. After leaving the orphanage, she lived every day to the fullest. She really tried her best. She had to leave the orphanage when she turned 19. It wasn't like she had a specific goal after she left. It was instinct that drove her always to do her best to survive. Maybe that was the reason she matured much earlier than others. She believed that a day would come when her life got its own meaning and value if she could hold out long enough, at least until she met a girl. The girl told her that she had run away from home. So, she asked her if she could crash at her place for a few days. She told Tinia that her dad beat her every day, so she requested her to please help her out. She had worked with her for several months, and at that point, maybe she thought she had something in common with her. But above all, having someone who needed her help gave a specific meaning to her own life. She agreed to the girl's request and allowed her to live in her house for a few days. She took her to her home, and one day she went to her house and entered the code. Long story short, she came to know that the girl's cry for help was a total lie. One of the girl's friends, who was a fellow of the girl who asked Tinia for help, asked the girl what Tinia was doing there. That girl told her friend that Tinia was the one who was the host and the lady of the house. A boy went near Tinia, who seemed to be afraid, and said hello. The friend of that girl said to her that he felt nice to meet her. Tinia did not want that, which was not what she wanted at all. Their actions got more and more aggressive, and their demands grew more and more shameless. Of course, she asked for help, and the police went to the house. The girl who asked Tinia for help told the police officers about a misunderstanding. The police officers, after hearing her, trusted what she said. He told them to go ahead and talk it out like good friends should. Tinia went to her house, where the girl who asked for help, with her fellows, asked Tinia what kind of friend she was. The girl slammed Tinia and grabbed her collar. She told her that they should live in peace. A very long time had passed since then, to the point where her heart was on the verge of breaking down before she even found meaning in life. She went to a barren place. She heard someone who asked her from behind the tree if she was trying to kill herself. Tinia didn't know the answer to the question she was being asked. The girl stepped out. She saw it was Kia, who noted that she wasn't saying no, which meant she was considering it. She decided to help her. She offered to play a game with her in return for her help. Tinia didn't know anything about the game. The scene shifted to Selvarat, who was Selvarat in the game world. She entered Tinia's house, where the girl and her friends lay freely. One of the friends of that girl who asked for help scratched his hair and wondered where the host girl had been. Selvarat entered the house and locked the door. She started stepping toward them. She informed those guys that it was time for their punishment. The boy asked her if this was a joke or something, and he tried to punch Selvarat. Selvarat dodged his attack. She fought with every one of them until she won. After Selvarat and Kia helped her out, the bullying stopped. And then she started playing the game. She would do anything for Miss Cynthia. She thought it was fine because she could start over on the project whenever she wanted. But she was starting to get tired. Suddenly, the bell rang, and she went to open the door. She questioned who it was at the door. As soon as she opened the door, she saw Kia and Selvarat. She was confused, having no idea what they were doing. Kia told Tinia that she checked the skill logs and discovered what she was up to. She thought she made it clear that the project was over. Selvarat told Tinia to listen to her, saying she was getting way ahead of herself. Tinia yelled at them, saying she didn't understand. They tried so hard to become the light, the justice of the world. She gritted her teeth and wondered how they could give up on something like that so easily. Kia asked Tinia if she had ever looked into their eyes when she fought them. When they were putting all their power into that final blow they exchanged. She got to look her dead in the eyes. It all made sense to her at that moment. She hugged Tinia and told her to come on so that they could start trying their best once again. She told her that they should regret it as much as they had to, then move on and become stronger. Tinia became emotional and started tearing up but agreed to what Kia asked her to do. They were all born into this world with their shortcomings. But only when they faced them properly could they truly become the strongest. Following the coordinates they received, they finally arrived at this place. Mandemic found it strange. This was where the coordinates led. The little rabbit monster asked them if they were sure they could trust this human. Anyway, Mandemic asked the little rabbit monster if she thought it was time for her to tell them her name. The little rabbit monster told them she had no name. But Mandemic knew they would need a name to call her. In that case, the little rabbit monster told them to call her Rabby. Olivia quietly listened. Suddenly, they heard a thundering noise. Someone slammed on the ground. They saw the exact cross guy who had appeared there. He thanked everyone for coming. Olivia asked Ignis if he was an enemy. Ignis informed them that he was the one who gave her the coordinates, so she didn't think he was an enemy, but she wasn't sure if he was on their side either. The guy with the cross told Ignis that he didn't have much time, so he told her to listen carefully. He informed Ignis that she would come to destroy everything, starting from the world tree. He had to protect these things, and Ignis questioned him why she should listen to him. The guy with a cross found her answer fair enough. He told her she must let him motivate her. He told her that one of her brother's items was there. Ignis was surprised to hear that her brother's item was with the one the cross guy was mentioning. He told Ignis to listen carefully. He told her that she would never defeat them on their own. She had to ask for the world tree's help as soon as she got there. Olivia looked at her screen. She saw that there was a dungeon inside the world tree, and at the end of the dungeon was the mother of the world tree. He told Ignis and Mandemic that their goal was to protect the world tree from the outside. The guy with the cross told Olivia and the rabbit monster that they would be dungeon members. He instructed Ignis to wake the mother from her sleep and protect the world tree together to win. He told them that if they lost, they would have to give up this world and her brother. Ignis asked the guy with the cross about the difficulty level, questioning if 2 were enough to clear it. The guy with the cross told Ignis that it wasn't even close. After listening to him, the little rabbit monster questioned if he was kidding her. She asked them what they were supposed to do, and Olivia asked if there was any other way to do it. The guy with the cross told Olivia that she could share her powers with them because she could do it as a fellow monster. Olivia wondered if he could be talking about that skill. The guy with the cross looked at Olivia's face. He saw that she seemed to have gotten the point, so he told her to use that skill before she entered. Ignis told Olivia that it was totally okay, and Olivia activated her skill. Olivia tapped on the backs of Ignis and the little rabbit monster, enabling the skill Slime Touch. She realized that an unbelievable amount of energy was flowing through her. She wondered if this was what she was thinking. Within an instant, a screen appeared in front of Olivia, which mentioned the awakening of the hidden archer of the garden. Her body was overflowing with powers. On the contrary, a screen appeared in front of the little rabbit monster, which talked about the awakening of the tenacious rabbit knight. The little rabbit monster started wondering where this power was coming from. Olivia told them that the skill would last for about 1 hour, but not much longer than that. The guy with the cross decided to open the hidden portal for them. He put his hand on the ground. A window screen that stated about the hidden field was called the Land of the World Tree. He wished Ignis good luck. Somehow, Ignis didn't think that he was lying. Although she didn't understand why he was doing this, he felt a sense of nostalgia for some reason. When she returned, she asked the guy with the cross why he was doing this. She knew that her brother's item was right down there, and she was ready to go inside. She was coming for her brother Taffy's item, wherever it was. A notification appeared, mentioning about the moving to the Land of the World Tree. Mandemic thought that this was it. As soon as he saw the World Tree, Ignis and her team safely arrived at the World Tree. The little rabbit monster and Olivia entered to clear the dungeon. The time limit was 1 hour. The guy with the cross saw the monster coming toward him. The monster's name was Calendar, who told him she hadn't seen him in a long time. The name of the guy with the cross was Angelus. Calendar took out her twins, believing she could take care of them herself. The twins jumped on the ground with a booming sound, following Calendar's command. Angelus knew that Calendar would get in his way. The ground was rumbling with dust in the air. On the other hand, a window screen appeared, informing them about the field, which was the World Tree Maze, where they had reached. They saw some monsters in front of them, who told them that intruders were not allowed and clarified that they should go no further. The little rabbit monsters saw that those monsters were restraining them from going deeper. Olivia told her that it didn't matter what they were saying. The monster roared and rushed toward them to attack them. He opened his fist. They saw sharp nails on his hand, which he wanted to scratch with. He attacked the little rabbit monster, who covered herself by blocking his nails with her carrot. Olivia shot at the monster, who fell down after getting hit. Only 55 minutes remained to clear the World Tree Maze. The fight raged on between Olivia and Rabbi against the various monsters acting as hurdles. At that moment, outside the World Tree, Ignis and Nandemic felt a familiar, hair-raising sensation. The source of the feeling finally revealed itself. Calendar appeared before Ignis, greeting her after a long time. Ignis remembered the unknown lady's warning to be careful. A screen popped up, identifying Calendar as a boss-rank monster. Calendar stepped towards Ignis, asking how she had been. Ignis was surprised to hear her name, asking if Calendar knew her. Calendar replied that she knew Ignis was the daughter of Florith, a follower of the Guardian's duty, and Taphis' sister. Ignis declared that she would never listen to anything else Calendar said until she defeated her and took the item from her. Nandemic agreed with Ignis, desiring the same. Calendar stated she wouldn't go easy on Ignis just because she was Florith's child, suggesting that today might be the day they saw the end of this world. She decided to see what Ignis had. And in an instant, she passed them both. They couldn't even notice she had moved. Both were shocked to find her behind them, having no clue when she had crossed. She activated her unique field, Black, and Ignis observed Calendar carefully. She realized Calendar was faster than anyone she had ever fought. Calendar was about to hit Ignis, but Nandemic blocked the attack. As he came forward in front of Ignis, he noted that this monster had some spunk. Nandemic told Ignis that Calendar had to be far more potent than an item to cause permanent damage like this, implying that if she could destroy a legendary item with a single blow, she was undoubtedly very powerful. Calendar taunted Ignis, asking what had happened to her, questioning if she really needed this human to protect her from such a simple attack. She told Ignis she had become much weaker than before, questioning what happened to her ego. Ignis knew she only had one ego, rage, but judging by Calendar's words, she seemed to possess more than one. Calendar asked Ignis if she wanted to see her ego, then activated her entire ego, enabling her rage slash and holy explosion skills. A sudden explosion occurred, and they both dodged the attack. A flashing light surrounded the area. They both attacked Calendar collectively. After an intense beam of light, they saw Calendar, still safe and sound. Calendar asked both of them if they thought they could defeat her with such a weak blow. Nandemic asked Ignis if she was okay. Ignis, taking deep breaths, told Nandemic she was fine. Ignis' powers flowed around her, and she rose in full rage, overflowing with power. Ignis realized that Calendar's powers were incredible, even when she was holding back. Until they woke the mother of the World Tree, they needed to keep fighting another monster with an entire ego. She told Nandemic they should do it now. The battle with Calendar commenced. Calendar leaped at Ignis and Nandemic, swinging her weapon. Nandemic rushed toward Calendar. The dragon struck a rage slash, and the holy expansion was enabled. Nandemic knew it wouldn't do much harm anyway. He bounced toward Calendar, who immediately hit Mandemic. Mandemic's body shone due to the flash he had enabled. He activated Hard Counter. And Ignis activated her skill, Dragon Strike, holding her sword. She unleashed a Rage Slash. Calendar saw her using skill and immediately activated her Orb of Despair. The whole area rumbled, and Ignis had a tight grip on her sword. She used her Dragon Strike burst. And their skills collided. She saw a mountain of energy before her. Mandemic asked Ignis if she was ready. Ignis agreed. And Mandemic began activating his powers while Ignis gathered her strength. A magic circle appeared, and their combined skill, Holy Fire of Eternity, activated. Mandemic hoped this would do the trick. But suddenly, he saw Calendar's hand emerge from the fire. She questioned them, after coming out, if this was all they had, finding it ridiculous. Ignis saw that Calendar was absorbing their skills at once. Calendar was still safe, even after being hit by that big blow. She activated her skill, Final Despair, which Ignis and Mandemic found challenging to withstand. Ignis clenched her teeth. Mandemic thought this skill was a finisher. A big explosion occurred with a booming sound. Mandemic immediately activated his 4 shields. He saved himself and Ignis from the hit. He thanked God he wasn't too late. The area within the 4 shields had a unique effect. All team members in this area were given 0.5 seconds of invincibility at fixed intervals. He didn't expect to use the skill so early. He had never met a boss monster like this one. This was the difference egos could make. Ego monsters could obtain many different kinds of egos, and whether they had one or not made all the difference. After fighting in many a boss raid as part of the Zero Guild, Mandemic started to ask himself this question: why was this all so easy? Now, after meeting Calendar, his question had finally been answered. Until now, humans had never fought real monsters. Calendar was the living proof of that. This could only mean that this was what the game developers intended in the first place. Mandemic knew that this must be the real side of the hidden ego. He activated his skill, the most potent weapon of Athena, the goddess of war and wisdom. He activated God's 5th shield, named Aegis. This was where this game actually began. So, he realized that this must be the real side of this game's hidden ego. He thought that they had really not been playing the game until now. The only problem, he believed, was that his opponent was a monster with an ego. Mandemic decided to face this, and he leaped towards Calendar. Calendar's eyes shone brightly. And Mandemic knew that the first skill his shield Aegis held was Stiffen. Calendar rushed to hit Mandemic. But before she could do anything, Ignis hit her with her Dragon Strike, also known as a Rage Slash. She saw that the stiffened state was broken when the target was attacked, and they might choose to strike back. At this point, Calendar activated her skill, Black Gimlet. Well, Aegis' second skill was an increased period of invincibility. Calendar realized that he was quite a handful of a human. She leaped towards him at full speed. And Mandemic activated his stiffening once again. Ignis came before Mandemic when Calendar instantly enabled her Despair Bomb skill. After the activation of the Despair Bomb, a booming sound occurred. He again saw the invincibility. They attacked as the opponent was stiffened and nullified their counterattacks with invincibility. Mandemic saw that Calendar was still unaffected after all those attacks, which was tough. Calendar told them that it was about time. Mandemic knew the first effect of her unique black field was corrosion. He saw that his invincibility shield was being corroded. The shield was creeping. A notification popped up. And Ignis saw it on the screen, which informed her that the skill Paladin's Guardian had been removed. Calendar looked at their faces, feeling their only hope had been taken away from them. Ignis realized they spent so much of their mana, but their skills didn't seem to have taken effect. Ignis couldn't think of a way to beat Calendar, but fighting her reminded her of something. Well, she knew that this feeling of meeting an insurmountable obstacle. They saw that strange figure in Tinia's lab, and how she talked made it seem like she already knew who she was. Perhaps she had met her before, but she didn't remember it. But she thought that she did not remember who she was. She had to save her brother at any cost. She raised her sword. Ignis instantaneously stepped towards Calendar when suddenly Mandemic called Ignis. He reminded her what he said to her before, that he would give her the item if she kept a promise. But he told Ignis that he had changed his mind now. He immediately gave the item to her, holding Taphis' item in his hand. It was the item Resonance. Ego monsters could connect with specific items and get bonuses from them. Although it had only been a short time since he came to trust her, he decided to give it to her if she could become stronger by having this. Ignis heard Mandemic. She looked at him with a surprised expression on her face, and she nodded her head. Ignis knew that this was the third item she had gotten from her brother. She moved her hand forward to pick up Taphis' item from Mandemic's hand. But before her hand could reach and touch the item was suddenly gone. Ignis saw that her brother Taphis' item was gone. She saw Glow, who happened to appear there and snatched Taphis' item from them. He questioned them if they didn't even see that coming, finding it so pathetic. Mandemic looked at Glow and asked him what he was doing here. Glow smirked, seeing Mandemic after so long. His first goal was collecting karma. Thanks to his class, every lousy deed he did permanently increased his parameters. And how better to earn karma than burning down the world tree? In order to do that, he tracked down that item and came here. His second goal was to take revenge on the one who killed him. He saw that the world tree and his killer were all in one place, which was a very fruitful day for him. He questioned himself what he was doing here. He was planning to kill every one of them. He carefully examines the item, concluding that it's notably different from the ones he's grown accustomed to using. He dismisses this difference, believing it's inconsequential since their ultimate fate is death within these very confines. Ignis then recognizes the towering figure before her as Glow, a prominent individual who holds the esteemed rank of the fourth best player in the notorious Number Zero Guild. A cold, hard truth washes over her. He's the very person responsible for the tragic demise of her beloved brother. Mandemic interjects, addressing Ignis and requesting a brief moment of her time. He politely asks her to leave Glow to him, confidently assuring her that he will successfully retrieve her precious item. Upon hearing Mandemic's declaration, Glow erupts into boisterous laughter, clearly amused by the notion that Mandemic believes he can achieve victory against him. Glow mockingly asserts that Mandemic will simply bring his own attack directly upon himself. Meanwhile, as they were locked in a fierce battle against Calendarer, an adversary possessing an unprecedented level of power, they simultaneously encountered Glow, the fourth most formidable player within the infamous Number Zero Guild. They are acutely aware of their urgent mission. They absolutely must protect the world tree and recover that crucial item. She understands, with a grim determination, that they need to relentlessly continue their struggle until Olivia and Pakoi manage to awaken the mother of the world tree. On a contrasting note, the little rabbit monster and Olivia successfully conclude their arduous fight against the formidable creature that was guarding the location. The little rabbit monster acknowledges the immense difficulty of their recent struggle, and Olivia offers her a well-deserved compliment. She informs the little rabbit monster that they now have precisely 40 minutes remaining before their critical deadline. Olivia urges her to initiate their movement immediately, emphasizing the urgency of their situation. The next adversary awaiting them is even more potent and dangerous than both Ignis and Mandemic combined. At this critical juncture, their ultimate victory will be entirely decided by the swiftness with which they can awaken the mother of the world tree and join their comrades. Not long after that pivotal moment, they come across another individual. They observe a man standing directly in front of them, who introduces himself as Raffle, the formidable gatekeeper. Raffle extends a formal welcome to them, addressing them with the title of challengers. Olivia, with merely a single glance, is able to discern with chilling clarity that he will undoubtedly prove to be a truly formidable enemy. Raffle declares himself as the one whose purpose is to bring forth righteous trials. He instructs them to defeat him decisively, promising that should they succeed, he will reveal the true path forward for them. He then orders them to thoroughly prepare themselves for the impending confrontation. Olivia and the little rabbit monster make the collective decision to initiate the arduous fight with Raffle. The intense battle promptly commences between the three of them. Raffle, holding his glistening sword firmly, leaps with incredible agility directly towards them. Raffle strikes Olivia with a loud, metallic clanging sound that echoes through the area. The little rabbit monster immediately expresses concern, asking Olivia if she is alright after the impactful blow. Olivia reassures the little rabbit monster that she is indeed fine and extends her heartfelt thanks for the thoughtful concern. She then purposefully uses her sharp blade to make a small slit on her own hand. Following this, she instantly activates her powerful skill, Proliferation. In the interim, Raffle unleashes his devastating skill, Ashes, designed to slash through the identical duplicates of Olivia. He observes Olivia's unique power petals and swiftly realizes that this is merely a cunning trick. Olivia then creates a massive explosion, utilizing her inherent powers. Raffle holds his sword, placing its cold edge menacingly against Olivia's neck. He challenges her directly, asking if that is truly the extent of her abilities. And Olivia understands, with a jolt, that they absolutely cannot afford to lose this swiftly. She knows, with an undeniable certainty, that if she were to be defeated here, she would be completely unable to provide any assistance to Ignis. Raffle questions them, with a tone of disbelief, if they genuinely expected to successfully pass their demanding trial by employing such so-called tricks. He finds it utterly incredible that they entertain such a notion. He then chillingly informs them that it is now their designated time to perish. Olivia, resolute in her conviction, believes with all her being that she cannot afford to be defeated at this critical moment. At that precise moment, Raffle spots a girl. He is utterly shocked and taken aback to see this girl who calmly steps near him and instructs him to take good care of his mother. Raffle wonders, in a state of bewilderment, why she would suddenly appear here. He shouts at them, demanding to know if they are acquainted with her. Olivia is visibly confused, asking Raffle if he is referring to Ignis. He then remembers her name is indeed Ignis, and he pointedly asks Olivia how she knows Ignis. Olivia promptly informs him that Ignis is her cherished friend. Well, Raffle doesn't fully grasp the depth of what she means to her, but he simply supposes that it will all turn out fine. He confirms with Olivia that he is correct in his understanding that they desperately need the mother's powers. He tells them, with a sense of purpose, that he has a significant debt to pay off. So, as a result, he sends them forward to finally meet his mother. Olivia and the little rabbit monster express their gratitude to Raffle, who then informs them that under normal circumstances, they would still be aimlessly wandering in the intricate maze of trials, but he has decided to make a rare exception this time. Regardless, their unique powers originally emanated from Ignis. The vigilant gatekeeper must have perceived her distinctive energy within them, which then served to remind him of someone incredibly important to him. Olivia and the little rabbit monster firmly decide to venture further into the unknown. A system notification pops up, informing them that they are now transitioning to a new field, which is specifically designated as the Land of the World Tree. The little rabbit monster tells Olivia to fully prepare herself for the impending battle. Olivia and the rabbit monster are rapidly approaching Ignis. As they finally reach the interior of the Land of the World Tree, they encounter the majestic mother, who addresses them, stating that they are only the second team of challengers who have successfully managed to make it this far. She begins to envelop them within her vast branches, a gesture to ascertain and gauge their true capabilities. Rathia, the venerable mother of the World Tree, expresses her genuine surprise that they have managed to advance to this demanding stage. Olivia approaches to get a closer look at the mother of the World Tree. She realizes, with absolute clarity, that they must bring her directly to Ignis in order to secure victory, as she knows, without a shadow of a doubt, there is simply no other viable path forward. Rathia is well aware that it typically requires a multitude of arduous trials for a challenger to reach this sacred place, but they don't appear to have undergone the entirety of them. She directly questions them as to whether they completed the trials or not, and she then decides to personally assess what formidable abilities they possess. Rathia rapidly runs towards Olivia at her top speed. She strikes Olivia with considerable force. But Olivia immediately activates her protective flower petals. The proliferation skill is not solely about multiplying herself into numerous small fragments. It is through this reabsorption process with these specific petals that the skill's full potential is finally completed. She then proceeds to activate her next powerful skill, Matricaria. Raphia glares intensely at Olivia, who has just activated her new ability. She delivers a forceful blow directly onto Olivia. Raphia continues to glance to her side, pondering whether the skill she just witnessed is a fortification-type ability. She was about to physically pick Olivia up in her hand, when the little rabbit monster suddenly leaps nimbly between them and delivers a swift kick to Raphia. Both Olivia and Raphia then activate their respective skills. The little rabbit monster unleashes her potent skill, Bunny Crack, whereas Olivia simultaneously activates her precise skill, Petal Slice. Raphia questions them, with a hint of disdain, if this is truly all they prepared for upon their arrival at this momentous place. She then declares, with conviction, that she will bestow upon them the formidable ordeal they unequivocally deserve. She proceeds to activate her formidable skill of 10,000 branches. The little rabbit monster observes, with a growing sense of dread, those 10,000 branches that have now completely surrounded them. With a resounding kaboom and a thunderous voice, a massive blast rips through the air, and they both realize, with astonishment, that it is an incredibly powerful skill, with vast clouds of smoke completely enveloping the sky. The little rabbit monster is seen to be visibly injured, and she tells Olivia that she is now entirely counting on her for this critical moment. Raphia then observes the glistening slime mucus. If someone is intricately connected to a slime through its unique mucus, they possess the remarkable ability to share their inherent powers, which effectively means that all of their combined powers can be singularly focused on either individual. Raphia understands, with a profound sense of certainty, that their upcoming strike will undeniably be their ultimate attack, unleashed with every ounce of strength and magic they collectively possess. Olivia thinks deeply within her heart that she has never, for a single day, forgotten the profound moment when Ignis reached out to her and gently held her hand. Therefore, she firmly decides to give absolutely everything she has if it means there's a chance she can successfully save Ignis. She is now resolutely determined to protect Ignis at any and all costs in this dire situation. With a great deal of arduous difficulty and determined struggle, Olivia forcefully emerges from the dense barks of Raphia's tree. She resolves to pour every last bit of her remaining energy and power into this crucial blow of hers. She then activates her powerful Memorialia de Emma skill, known as Rhinus. When this formidable skill is activated, a dazzling and flashy green light completely envelopes the entire place. The intensity of the light is so extreme that other people present cannot accurately perceive their surroundings due to the overwhelming flash. Raphia is utterly shocked to feel the impact of that powerful hit on her. Olivia has truly utilized every last drop of energy she had remaining. A significant amount of pervasive destruction visibly manifests after that devastating blow lands on Raphia. Raphia knows, with certainty, that this was the final attack, unleashed with all the power Olivia had left. She then steps towards both of them, and the little rabbit monster instinctively tells her to stop, instructing her to stay far away from Olivia. Olivia knows, deep within her being, that she is utterly finished, as she possesses absolutely no strength left in her body. Raphia tells them that she is profoundly impressed and has now come to fully comprehend why the diligent gatekeeper allowed them entry into this sacred place. She assures them, with sincerity, that she will unquestionably do whatever the two of them came here to request. Olivia then asks Raphia if she truly means what she is saying at this very moment. However, Olivia is overcome with immense happiness after hearing Raphia confirm that she understands their power originates from Ignis. Now, Olivia finally comprehends why the gatekeepers dispatched them and what is truly transpiring in this momentous place. Raphia concludes, at the end of their conversation, that Ignis has indeed found some truly magnificent and loyal friends. The scene then shifts abruptly to Ignis, who is huffing and visibly exhausted after a fierce and prolonged fight. She is shown the item and is gently reminded that she specifically desired that item to be present here. The person also seeks confirmation on this matter from Ignis. Ignis responds, affirming that she is absolutely correct in her statement. Calendarer then asks Ignis to allow her to pose a question. She asks Ignis to tell her if she knows why they, as individuals, were ever born into this enigmatic world. Ignis begins to profoundly ponder this weighty question after hearing it articulated by Calendarer. She vividly recalls the hunter's dismissive words, labeling her as mere experience points. She begins a mental review of everyone's words and actions up until this very moment. She distinctly remembers when the hunter, with a cruel satisfaction, told her that it was genuinely fun to hunt her down. Ignis also recalls the fundamental question of what they were truly supposed to do, as if a higher power had constructed this entire place, rendering them utterly powerless to change anything about it. Ignis extends her hand forward, offering an answer to a profound question. One which she is still unsure about but would very much like to explore and understand further. Calendarer tells her, with a sense of disappointment, that she hasn't fundamentally changed anything, even after all this new knowledge and experience. Calendarer then stands directly before Lerathia, who lets out a hearty laugh upon seeing Calendarer after a considerably long period of separation. Calendarer also acknowledges that she hasn't seen Lerathia in quite some time either. Lerathia informs Calendarer that there's absolutely no need for such excessive formalities between them. She fondly remembers a time when they were all together, united as one. Calendarer grins, a subtle smile playing on her lips, as she looks at Lerathia. They both clench their hands, preparing for a powerful attack against each other. They both rapidly run towards each other, intent on striking one another. They are both utilizing their inherent strengths at their absolute peak performance. Both individuals deliver powerful, impactful punches to each other. They are fiercely bashing and pummeling each other, and Lerathia and Calendarer stare intensely into each other's eyes. They both simultaneously activate their formidable skills. Calendarer unleashes her Watcher of Darkness, whereas Lerathia concurrently activates her Secret Garden. The entire surrounding area is violently rumbling because of the sheer power of their activated abilities. Lerathia smirks, a look of amusement on her face, as she observes Calendarer and her eerie, spooky skills. A massive boom resounds through the area. Lerathia asks if Calendarer doesn't recall that her skill possesses the unique ability to counter that particular skill of hers. She pointedly questions why Calendarer has not changed even a single bit at all. Ignis observes, with a growing sense of alarm, that all her own skills have been entirely cancelled out. She knows, with an undeniable certainty, that the sheer amount of clashing mana here is truly incredible. She is also acutely aware that she absolutely cannot participate in this monumental clash. She suddenly considers that the World Tree's mother is now awake and has arrived here, and then she wonders, with a surge of concern, what has happened to the little rabbit monster and Olivia. She then yells at Lerathia, asking her if she has not just recently come across two unusual monsters. She urgently asks Lerathia to tell her where both of them are now. Calendarer sharply tells Ignis to stay out of this dangerous situation and, with a clear intent to provoke, calls her daughter a Florith. She then attacks Ignis, and as a direct result of this assault, Ignis's body completely freezes up. She cannot even manage to utter a sound, let alone make any movement. She realizes, with a chilling understanding, that Calendarer was merely toying with her during their previous encounter. Lerathia laughs, an amused sound escaping her lips, as she questions Calendarer about why she is snapping at her with such ferocity. She asks her if she is simply reverting to her old habits and personality. Calendarer concludes, after hearing Lerathia's remarks, that she truly has not changed even a single bit. She is still precisely the same as she was in the distant past. She then activates her powerful ego skill, the Spear of Emptiness Void. Calendarer begins to step forward, with a menacing intent. She declares to them, with chilling conviction, that she is going to systematically kill every single one of them. The scene then dramatically shifts to Glow, who is pondering, with a hint of disdain, what Nandemic has been occupied with since he left them. He certainly did not anticipate finding him here, foolishly spending his time with a mere monster. Mandemic has heard more than enough of Glow's nonsensical taunts. So, he now simply tells Glow to hand over the item and promptly leave. He knows that Glow came here with the intention of affecting the world tree, but Mandemic does not desire this world to break apart. He asks Glow if his understanding is correct. Glow merely tells him that they will have to patiently wait and see if it will indeed break down or, perhaps, become even more entertaining. He begins to gather his formidable powers. He summons a skeletal entity of some kind. The unique field known as Beyond the Border is immediately activated, and the caster of Beyond the Border also receives the advantageous bonus of a unique black field. Another notification appears, informing them about the powerfully awakened form of the Soul Reaper. Mandemic observes that Glow has now become serious. And Glow begins to laugh loudly, a sound filled with unsettling glee. He marvels at what a remarkable coincidence it is that this particular skill is causing his parameters to rise higher than they ever have before. Mandemic knows, with a sinking feeling, that the powers Glow now commands could potentially match that of Harkmorph, who holds the formidable rank 2 within numbers 0, or perhaps even surpass him. In addition to Mandemic having already expended a considerable amount of his stamina and mana, other players simply cannot stop a unique field skill once it is activated. He wonders desperately what he can possibly do to extricate himself from this dire mess. Glow tells Mandemic bluntly that there is no possible way out of this for him. He strikes Mandemic from his back, and a thunderous booming sound erupts upon impact. Mandemic falls a considerable distance away. Glow swiftly rushes towards Mandemic. He forcefully pushes Mandemic away. He then begins to exert immense force upon Mandemic. Glow observes the unbelievable power he now wields. He smugly thinks he could now easily defeat Harkmorph and even that first-ranked player in the entire state. Mandemic is lying prone on the ground. Glow asks Mandemic if this is truly all he has left to offer. Glow tells Mandemic that he had genuinely expected better from him. He then activates Stiffen and Heavenly Prison. Mandemic realizes, with a sigh of resignation, that he has once again let his guard down. An immense gust of air begins to breeze through the area. Mandemic hopes with all his might that it will be enough to bring Glow down. The skull appears ominously. And Glow compliments him, stating that it was a nice try, although it ultimately proved ineffective. Mandemic tells Glow that he should listen closely. He tells Glow that their collective choice will significantly impact the fate of this world. They desperately need more time to adequately deal with what is rapidly approaching. There are various monsters in this world who possess genuine consciousness or egos. Some of these monsters are simply striving to save their own families. He realizes that they need to find a peaceful and harmonious way to coexist with them. Glow asks Mandemic, after hearing about the ego monsters, why he should even care if they possess egos, because, to him, this is simply a game. Plus, there was one more crucial thing he wanted to confirm with Mandemic. Something he came to realize just now while fighting with him. He's learned that Mandemic is not the original owner of the character he is currently playing. Mandemic is visibly surprised after hearing this revelation about the original owner. This profound story begins a long, long time ago. A persistent beeping sound starts emanating from the system. It's happening again, and the incessant ringing in Kim Yong-hun's ears has noticeably worsened. Kim Yong-hun is a middle school social studies teacher, leading a seemingly ordinary life. The principal gently taps Yong-hun's shoulder and asks him what his thoughts are regarding dinner on the 14th of the month. Yong-hun, after hearing the specific date of the 14th, apologizes to the principal, explaining that he's afraid he already has something important scheduled for that day. The principal finds this perfectly acceptable and assures him they should simply meet another time. He tells Yong-hun to simply let them know whenever he finds himself free. Yong-hun has diligently taught at the same school for many years. His colleagues and acquaintances often remark that he appears as if his emotions have completely dried up. He has been in this particular state for such an extended period that he genuinely cannot blame them for expressing such observations. He vividly remembers the poignant words of his son, who once asked him why he was never sad. Additionally, his wife had once told him, with a tone of deep despair, that being married to him made her feel utterly dead inside. That, tragically, was the reason his wife and son eventually left him. He reflected that he believed he never truly had the right to prevent them from doing so. This emotionally detached state was simply how he had always been. The students inquire with Young-hun what is wrong with him, noticing his distant demeanor. The students then tell him that the bell for dismissal has already rung, so they don't understand what he is still pondering so intensely about. Young-hun instructs them not to forget their homework and to be cautious when crossing the road. The students, curious, ask Young-hun what profound thoughts he was contemplating. Anyway, they collectively decide to head to the internet cafe. On his way home from school, his own elongated shadow is his only loyal companion. But sometimes, it is within these very shadows that they unexpectedly stumble upon the least expected occurrences. That was precisely how he came to meet him. He spotted a young boy named Kim Hyul. Young-hun asks Kim Hyul what he is doing there, as he sees him sitting and lying with his head bowed low. Kim Hyul is a student from class 3 at his school. He clearly could not have acquired those noticeable bruises simply from playing sports. For some reason, the boy looks a bit uneasy and troubled. So, Young-hun gently asks Hyul what exactly has happened to him. Hyul tells him that he merely fell on the ground while playing soccer. Anyway, he assures Young-hun that it is absolutely nothing to be concerned about. Young-hun offers him a refreshing milk bottle to drink. Hyul expresses his gratitude to Young-hun, who is his respected sir. He returns to his home, where a man is already seated inside. The man is busily engaged in a phone call. He tells the person he is speaking with on the phone that it's a quick and simple job. He tells the person that the woman appears to be loaded with cash, and she is also quite lonely, suggesting that perhaps in less than a few months, his plan will come to fruition. Hyul observes the man sitting there. The man abruptly hangs up his phone, stands up, and stares intently at Hyul. He sternly asks him what he's doing out so late in the evening. Hyul tells the man that he was simply playing soccer with his friends. The man questions him aggressively if he doesn't remember that he explicitly told him to stay in his damn room after school. Hyul explains that his friends wanted him to join them. The man slaps him so harshly and forcefully that Hyul falls to the ground after being struck. The man sees the visible mark on Hyul's face, which appeared after he hit him. He hopes earnestly that no one else will notice that mark. He supposes, reluctantly, that he could overlook this particular transgression. But still, he sternly tells Hyul that if he doesn't want to endure another beating like that recent night, he has to listen carefully to what he says and, crucially, not tell anyone about any of this. The parents of Hyul had divorced a long time ago. So, he was compelled to live with his mother. She was perpetually busy with work, which meant they didn't forge many lasting memories together. She was perpetually busy with work, which meant they didn't forge many lasting memories together. Perhaps this bothered her deeply, which was why she eventually presented him with a gift. After that, she remarried a peculiar man. The man told Hyul there was absolutely no need to rehash everything that had transpired between them. He genuinely believed that if Hyul simply remained silent, then everything would undoubtedly be alright. Hyul possessed his video game, so he thought everything was fine and manageable. He never harbored any desire to go home after school. So, when they unexpectedly met in that alley, it was almost as if their encounter had been perfectly planned. Young-hun gave him a refreshing banana milk. This seemingly small gesture meant a great deal to Hyul, perhaps even more than Young-hun could have possibly imagined. Young-hun never seemed to care about how Hyul was behaving or who he truly was as a person. Hyul asked Young-hun if it would be acceptable to him. He asked Young-hun if he could possibly come to his house the day after tomorrow. The familiar beeping sounds began to occur once more. It started happening again with Young-hun. He only clearly heard the phrase the day after tomorrow. He had existing plans for that specific day, but he knew, deep down, that Hyul genuinely wanted him to come and see him on that particular day. Young-hun assures Hyal that he will indeed stop by. Hyal smiles brightly after hearing Young-hun's promise. Hyal did not show up at school the day before they had planned to meet. Since Young-hun was not his homeroom teacher, he merely heard that something had occurred at home. Then came the very day they were supposed to meet. Hyal wasn't there, just as Young-hun had reluctantly expected, and he realized there was no logical reason for Hyal to venture out in the heavy rain. It is raining heavily, and while holding his umbrella, Young-hun makes his way to the place where he has an important obligation. He knows there is something he needs to do today at all costs, to pay his respects to his late mother. He goes to his mother's grave and asks her if he is doing all right in life. He has befriended a boy named Hyal and sincerely wants to help him because Hyal reminds him so much of his own son. He apologizes to his mother, feeling ashamed as always. Visiting his mother's grave triggered uncomfortable memories and thoughts. The wounds on Hyal's face, which Hyal claimed he got from playing soccer, now seemed suspicious. Also, Hyal has not attended school for the past few days, and Young-hun didn't hear Hyal's request to visit him due to the persistent ringing in his ears. He is passing by the mountain when he suddenly hears a piercing scream. As he ventures further, he is utterly shocked by what he sees. The ominous premonition quickly and tragically proved to be true. There, on the mountain, lay the lifeless body of Hyal. The boy named Kim Hyal realizes that he needs to delve back into his past to explain how all this tragic series of events came to pass. Approximately 1 year ago, his mother frequently embarked on numerous overseas business trips. Although he was already accustomed to not having a father figure present, his mother adamantly insisted that she would find a trustworthy man and marry him. However, the man she chose was far from what he expected, to say the very least. One seemingly normal day, the man who was Hyal's stepfather entered the room and sternly told Hyal to promise him one crucial thing. When Hyal began living with him, he soon discovered the true intentions of his stepfather. He overheard his stepfather on a phone call. His stepfather was angrily yelling at the man he was conversing with, reminding the man that he had explicitly stated, "This girl has a lot of money. He just needs to invest a couple of years in her, and the payoff will be absolutely huge." Hyal then entered the room. He bravely asked his stepfather if he was referring to his own mother. His stepfather abruptly told the man on the call that he would speak with him again later. He then forcefully grabbed Hyal and angrily asked if he hadn't told him just a few days ago to stay put. He then shoved Hyal roughly. He aggressively closed the door behind him. He made it perfectly clear to Hyal that if he didn't comply, he simply wouldn't have a choice. He told Hyal that perhaps he had also heard the famous quote that there's only one way to truly teach a disobedient dog, by whipping it. Hyal desperately told his stepfather to stop, warning him that he would call the police if he continued. His stepfather mockingly asked him what he would possibly tell the police and questioned why they would even believe him. He told Hyal that kids like him, who are good for nothing, always think in such naive ways. Hyal then threatened him, stating that he would tell his mother everything about him. His stepfather stepped menacingly towards him and slapped him brutally across the face. He started repeatedly smacking him in the face. He told Hyal that he had encountered many individuals just like him. He asked Hyal if he genuinely believed everything would go his way. He made it unequivocally clear to Hyal that even if it did, he questioned Hyal if he thought that he would simply leave him and his mother alone. He told Hyal to go ahead and do whatever he desired. He questioned Hyal while kicking him, asking if he was now so frightened that there was someone to physically beat him. Every agonizing blow that day made Hyal realize that reality was starkly different from his innocent dreams. Moreover, he concluded that he was utterly worthless and completely incapable of doing anything by himself. His stepfather then grabbed Hyal by his hair, as he realized that he should avoid hitting his face in case anyone saw the marks. He told Hyal not to anger him. Hyal was bleeding profusely. This became his new, horrifying life for some time thereafter. He would make video calls to his mother, who was mostly overseas. But he couldn't tell her a single thing because his stepfather would always sit directly in front of him, overseeing the call. Hyal used to lie to his mother on video calls, assuring her that he was perfectly fine. So, he told his mother not to worry about him at all. His mother was genuinely happy to hear that her son was doing perfectly well. She still maintained, in their regular video calls, that she thought he was a trustworthy man. She also called his school and inquired about his performance. He thought that it would not take long and that it would not be so bad. He truly believed it would all pass by quickly if he simply remained still, as his stepfather instructed. There were a lot of needless and painful beatings, but he could tolerate them because he still possessed the video game his mother had lovingly given him. Mandemic went online. Yahello is certain that no matter how painful his reality becomes, he knows that he can persevere. At the very least, he can rely on this virtual world that his mother provided him. He is absolutely sure that no one can physically hurt him within the game. He is the only one who receives no damage, and he shall forever be known as Mandemic. The scene then dramatically shifts to the mountain, where Yong-hun is sitting on the cold ground, openly weeping. A police officer approaches Yong-hun and respectfully asks him if he has a moment to spare. They then informed him about the tragic case, revealing that the victim was, in fact, his own student. Yong-hun learned, with a heavy heart, that Yahello was not even contemplating dying at first. But on that fateful rainy night, he had, regrettably, considered it while standing at the cliff's perilous edge. Regardless of what his ultimate decision may have been, the relentless rain caused him to slip and tragically fall to his death. Yong-hun deeply wonders what unforeseen circumstances pushed him to such a desperate edge. He begins to sadly contemplate what that boy, with his radiant smile, ever did to deserve such a fate. Tears well up in his eyes as he reflects on the profound reasons behind the tragedy. He wonders, with a painful ache in his soul, why Yahello had to die. On the contrary, Yahello's mother rushes frantically to the hospital. The doctors, with grim expressions, prevent her from entering the operating theater. She is crying uncontrollably and desperately asks the doctor what has happened to her beloved son. The doctor informs Yahello's mother that the operation is currently in progress. So, he instructs his mother to remain outside the operating theater. She yells hysterically at the doctor for preventing her from entering the room. She demands that he let her see her son inside the operating room. Yahello's treatment is ongoing when, tragically, Yahello's heartbeat abruptly ceases. That, sorrowfully, was how Yahello ultimately died. Not long after, irrefutable evidence surfaced that he had been subjected to severe abuse. The abuser was subsequently incarcerated due to this and numerous other charges. But still, what had already transpired could never, under any circumstances, be undone. Yahello's mother went inside the prison to confront him. She regretted her past inaction. But now she realizes, with profound sorrow, that she should never have allowed a monster like him anywhere near her precious Yahello. After things had somewhat calmed down a little, Yong-hun went to the house where Yahello used to live. He gently knocks on the door, and Yahello's mother invites him inside. Yong-hun greets Miss Kim and respectfully asks her how she is holding up after the tragic events. Yahello's mother has already heard a great deal about Yong-hun, so she warmly invites him to come further inside. She tells Yong-hun that Yahello had mentioned he occasionally gave him banana milk. She also fondly mentions that Yahello spoke about Yong-hun quite affectionately. Yong-hun realizes, with a pang of regret, that Yahello must have asked him to come to his house that fateful day. Yong-hun told Yahello's mother that he might have been able to save him if only he had gone to visit him at his house. Yahello's mother assures Yong-hun that there is no fault whatsoever in him and tells him that it is perfectly alright because he gave Yahello someone genuine to rely on. She slides a box towards him and presents Yahello's game to Yong-hun. She informs Yong-hun that Yahello deeply relied on this particular item. She tells him that it is a virtual game that she gave him as a cherished present. It turns out that the man she married tragically broke it when he was violently trashing her house. Yong-hun discovers the heartbreaking reason, and he comes to understand that when Yahello lost the very thing he relied on most, he made the devastating decision to end his own life. Yahello's mother tells Yong-hun that Yahello's user data is securely saved in the memory chip. She believes, with a mother's intuition, that Yahello would undoubtedly want him to have it, given how much he trusted Young-hun. Young-hun hesitates initially, but then he extends his hand towards Hyul's mother to gently take the chip. Hyul's mother entrusts the chip to him. She requests Young-hun to take the chip and to forever cherish Hyul's precious memories. Young-hun assures her, with a solemn promise, that he will never forget Hyul until the day he himself dies. After that profound encounter, he made the decision to quit teaching and became a farmer instead. He firmly believed that a teacher who had tragically failed to save one of his students should not be permitted to return to school. He also resolved on one pivotal thing. He yearned to see the virtual world that Hyul had cherished and make it last forever. He decided, with unwavering determination, to protect it and cherish it until his dying day. He now realizes that he absolutely must safeguard this unique world, which served as a sacred sanctuary for Hyul, a sanctuary that he cannot afford to lose. Glow smirks, a chilling expression on his face, as he gazes at the sword of past and present called Hackle. Mandemic holds the sword firmly in his hands. The intense fight immediately commences here. He charges relentlessly towards Glow. Glow's unique field must be significantly boosting his healing speed, making him remarkably resilient. It is specifically designed to wear out and exhaust the opponent who dares to fight him within its confines. However, there is a brief, fleeting moment when his core becomes visible as he is recovering from a significant injury. Mandemic knows that if he can manage to cut directly through that vulnerable core, Glow will surely perish. Mandemic understands, with a clear conviction, that this game is deeply personal for him, and that he has absolutely no right to judge it. However, he also recognizes that not all of them play the game for the same fundamental reason. Glow laughs, a mocking sound, at Mandemic and asks him if he's now lecturing him about his impending loss. He tells Mandemic to reflect on what has tragically become of him. He questions Mandemic, urging him to recall the fearsome Mandemic of old and asks him where that formidable presence has vanished. He then activates his devastating bone split skill. Mandemic stands there, observing the recently activated skill with grim determination. Mandemic knows he has only one single shot left with the limited mana he possesses. All users within the game Hidden Ego have the distinct choice to select a specific class and a unique ability. For instance, Cynthia's chosen class is a monk, which is essentially a priestess who actively practices martial arts, but she is also permitted to possess a totally different ability apart from that. He knows, with certainty, that he can manipulate both time and space. Glow tells Mandemic, seeing that he is preoccupied because he has to eliminate the boss monster now, that playtime is definitively over for him. He then enables the Soul Reaper's ultimate skill, aptly named the Soul Reaper Scythe. The immense power of the scythe is directly proportional to the caster's parameters, meaning that within his unique field, black, its destructive capability is deadly, to say the very least. He decides, with a confident air, to see who the ultimate winner will be. They both rapidly rush towards each other, aiming to land powerful hits on one another. Glow utilizes his ultimate skill, which specifically enables the final soul collection. Some individuals might question why they are so earnestly serious about a world that exists solely within a game. But the deeper question is whether the same logic applies to the complexities of the real world. Everything, inherently, possesses more than one side or perspective. And even a seemingly insignificant video game can, for some, become the only true sanctuary they possess. The same fundamental principle applies to the ego monsters, who are essentially the unique individuals born into this very world. All Mandemic desires is to discover the profound answer to his overarching question. Now, he enables his own ultimate skill. He activates the Gap of Time and unleashes an attack on Glow. Glow yells at him, telling him that it is utterly pointless. He questions Mandemic about whether he remembers that Glow can always miraculously heal himself. A vibrant yellow light begins to intensely surround the entire area. The light is so extreme and overwhelmingly intense. Glow knows, with a sense of triumph, that this is the very last skill Mandemic can possibly use in his current depleted state. He is fully aware that Mandemic has absolutely no mana left. Nandemic realizes, with a grim understanding, that his skill on Glow did not inflict any direct damage. Instead, it effectively turned back time. Glow is returned to the previous moment. He is now back in the time when he was holding Tafris's item firmly in his hand. After surveying his immediate surroundings, he wonders if he has just traveled back in time. He then receives a sudden attack from Nandemic's side, which successfully strikes him. He becomes stiffened again, momentarily paralyzed. However, Glow knows that Nandemic should be on the verge of dying after exhausting all these powerful skills. Plus, if Nandemic cannot manage to kill him in a single decisive blow, then the effect of his skill will eventually wear off, and Glow will be fully able to fight back. He realizes that if he cannot be attacked here, then he will remain completely safe. Suddenly, he is struck by Olivia's powerful skill, which activates the Memorialia DMR Ravenous. Glow wonders, with a hint of confusion, where that attack came from. Well, he still believes that it is perfectly acceptable because it did not inflict significant damage. Nandemic urgently requests Olivia to please take the item from Glow. Without wasting even a single second, Olivia leaps with incredible agility towards Glow to forcefully snatch the item from his grasp. Olivia and the little rabbit monster move determinedly towards Glow, who verbally abuses them, calling them little annoying insects. He then activates his bone split skill, and the little rabbit monster deftly dodges Glow's attack with remarkable speed. She bounces to the other side to protect herself from getting injured. She then enables her bunny slash, which skillfully slices the bones apart. Nandemic and Glow both fall a considerable distance away while Glow tells Nandemic to allow him to ask one final question. He questions Nandemic, urging him to reveal what the answer he is so desperately looking for truly is. Nandemic tells Glow that this game meant the entire world to a student he used to teach. He aimed to transform it into a world that the student could look back upon with genuine pride. Glow is lying in the corner, visibly defeated, and he tells Nandemic that they will simply have to see how well that goes. Just like that, Nandemic and Glow both retired from the intense battle in the land of the World Tree. Olivia's team, who valiantly took part in the fierce battle, succeeded in triumphantly recovering Taffer's item. She wishes, with a hint of longing, that Ignis had simply waited for her to arrive. Ignis is sitting with Olivia, who asks her what she anticipates will happen to them in the future. Ignis remembers Olivia, who, back when they participated in that enjoyable farming festival, asked her the very same question with a sheepish, endearing smile. Olivia knows, with a heavy heart, that everyone believes they should be killed, and it seemingly feels as though this entire world was fundamentally built upon that very idea. Olivia tells Ignis that it feels as if everyone is actively denying their very existence. Ignis agrees with her, knowing that Olivia is speaking the undeniable truth. Even if she succeeds in saving her brother, similar disheartening situations will inevitably happen again. Which is precisely why she thinks they absolutely have to change this world as a whole. Olivia then asks Ignis what tangible steps they can take to achieve this monumental goal. Ignis thinks deeply and then answers Olivia's question, stating that they still have a crucial task ahead of them, to diligently search and find the definitive answers to this complex question. Olivia realized one profound thing as they were diligently farming their crops. She genuinely enjoyed watching their crops transform and flourish as they grew larger. Perhaps she thinks that everything in the world is already in a constant state of flux and change, just like that. But she hopes, with a deep yearning, that something profoundly important never changes, which is the kind of cherished moment that she shares uniquely with Ignis. She tells her, with heartfelt sincerity, that if it were not for Ignis, then she would have completely broken down a very long time ago. She then solemnly promises Ignis that she will protect her until the very end. The scene shifts dramatically to the other side of the battlefield, where Calendarer and Wrathia stand poised, facing each other in a confrontation of monumental proportions. Calendarer's face contorts with unbridled rage as she declares to Wrathia, "I will kill and utterly destroy you." Calendarer's eyes blaze with an intense, bright light, as she begins to intensely gather her formidable powers. An immense amount of radiant light begins to emanate from her being. and she unleashes her devastating skill, the Wave of Life. The Wave of Life surges forth, enveloping the entire area. And Ignis, caught within its overwhelming force, collapses to the ground. She begins to cough uncontrollably, realizing with a gasp that merely witnessing these colossal amounts of mana collide is more than enough to overwhelm her senses and leave her incapacitated. She concludes, with a heavy heart, that this is a conflict she absolutely cannot meddle in. Raphia, with a burst of incredible speed, leaps towards Calendarer and delivers a powerful, precise kick. She then slams her fist directly into Calendarer's face, sending her sprawling into the churning water below. The water violently splashes onto Calendarer's face, making her feel as though she is drowning, struggling for breath beneath the surface. Raphia questions Calendarer mockingly if she is simply playing around, though she knows full well that Calendarer is undeniably serious. In front of Raphia, a cataclysmic destruction is actively unfolding, a testament to the raw power being unleashed. Raphia has been granted a truly unique and extraordinary ability as the mother of all life. She activates her awakened form, known as the Origin of Life. So, in essence, she is the legendary Dragon of Destruction, and her powers are distinctly different from Calendarer's. She plans to annihilate everything, commencing with the Sacred World Tree, for that is precisely what she was born to do, what her very existence demands. Calendarer tells Raphia that she hasn't seen her in that formidable form for quite a significant while. She then expresses a grim hope that Raphia is truly prepared to meet her end in that very form as well. Raphia agrees with Calendarer's sentiment, her gaze unwavering. She states, with a resolute tone, that they must fight relentlessly, and one of them will surely perish until everything reaches its inevitable conclusion. A booming sound reverberates through the air, and due to the sheer ferocity of the battle between the two formidable beings, the entire floor of the arena begins to violently rumble and shake. They both clench their hands, forming solid, powerful fists, intending to land devastating blows upon each other. Calendarer attacks Raphia with every single ounce of power she possesses, pouring her entire being into the assault. Raphia knows, with a chilling clarity, that while they may appear to be fighting on a similar level of power, at the same time, both of them possess the terrifying capability to end the other with a single, decisive blow. She thinks, frantically, that she absolutely needs to finish Calendarer before Calendarer can discover how they could achieve that through the enigmatic process of item resonance. Ignis realizes, with a sudden surge of understanding, that she absolutely cannot allow Calendarer to resonate with Taphys's item, which Calendarer seems to possess. She believes, with a fierce urgency, that this battle must conclude swiftly, before Calendarer uncovers the secret of that resonance. She calls out to her brother, pleading with him to help her if he can somehow hear her desperate plea. On the other hand, Olivia decisively shoves the little rabbit monster and tells her to immediately give the item to Ignis, asserting that the little rabbit monster is the fastest among them. Therefore, Olivia knows that she could complete the critical job much earlier. The little rabbit monster, without a moment's hesitation or a second thought, sprints with incredible speed towards Ignis. Ignis sees Olivia and the little rabbit monster, and a wave of relief washes over her, seeing that they are both fine and doing well. Ignis yells at the little rabbit monster, ordering her to leave the perilous area, emphasizing that it is simply too dangerous here for her. However, the little rabbit monster, driven by her mission, does not hear Ignis's warning. Calendarer sees her running directly towards Ignis. She lets out a sinister laugh and reminds the little rabbit monster, echoing her earlier warning, not to get in her way. Calendarer launches her attack at the little rabbit monster, and very soon, the little rabbit monster feels an overwhelming sensation that she cannot possibly dodge the incoming assault. She wonders, with a surge of fear, if she is truly going to die in this moment. She continues to run, her determination unwavering, and suddenly, she feels a sharp, piercing pain as she is stabbed. Before she could suffer any more severe harm, Olivia bravely leaped in, shielding the little rabbit monster with her own body, protecting her from the brutal attack. She tells the little rabbit monster that it has always bothered her, the knowledge that the little rabbit monster doesn't possess a name of her own. This world, Olivia emphasizes, is far larger and more expansive than the little rabbit monster currently understands, and there are so many wondrous things she can accomplish. She tells the little rabbit monster to allow her to bestow a name upon her. Olivia feels that this name is something they will collectively need to paint the world with her vibrant colors. This name is Palkai, also lovingly termed Palette. In a heart-wrenching moment, Olivia succumbs to her injuries and dies, leaving the little rabbit monster to burst into uncontrollable sobs. Olivia had cherished every single moment of their shared journey together. She feels immense sorrow for leaving Ignis so early in their adventure. She genuinely desired to help her until the very end. But she wishes Ignis not to worry about her. In the next life, Olivia resolves to be a vibrant flower that continuously blooms for Ignis. She truly enjoyed every single moment of their journey together. She is deeply sorry for leaving her so early, especially when she had genuinely wanted to help her until the very end of their path. She is certain that Ignis will do perfectly fine even without her, since Ignis possesses the unwavering will to overcome any and all hardships that may come her way. So, she wishes Ignis not to worry at all, because she will undeniably be a flower that continuously blooms for her in their next life. The scene dramatically shifts to Ignis, who lets out a piercing yell after witnessing Olivia's tragic demise. She sprints desperately towards her fallen friend. Suddenly, in her frantic rush, she stumbles and falls to the ground. She begins to cry abruptly, her heart aching as she sees that only a delicate flower is left where Olivia once lay. A system notification appears, announcing the activation of an ultimate skill, the seed of fate that Olivia cast in her final moments. Ignis wishes, with a fervent desperation, that Olivia would stop joking, because Ignis had promised to protect her no matter what. She thinks, with a crushing weight of guilt, that if she allows Olivia to perish like this, she will never, ever be able to forgive herself. The little rabbit monster, now named Palette, also cries, wondering how Olivia could possibly leave like this, feeling it's incredibly unfair to them both. Ignis clenches her hands tightly, her body trembling, and she continues to weep uncontrollably as she remembers Olivia. It was a raging tsunami of emotions that she had never experienced before, a grief so profound it threatened to consume her. At that very moment, she felt something irrevocably snap inside her. Ignis slowly gets up, her movements deliberate. Her eyes have transformed into a furious, glowing red, and she begins to laugh, a chilling, guttural sound that resonates with pure rage. The little rabbit monster looks at Ignis with concern and asks her if she is all right. Another ego has tragically perished. Calendarer is probably planning to eliminate Ignis last, leaving her to deal with whoever remains after the main conflicts. Calendarer asks Larathia if she has forgotten, and she haughtily tells her that she doesn't need to resonate with Larathia's lousy item because she, Calendarer, will never be defeated. Larathia laughs, a knowing, amused sound, and tells Calendarer that they will indeed see. It is time, Larathia proclaims, to finish this, once and for all, Calendarer. This was undeniably their final battle, with their very existence hanging precariously in the balance. Calendarer thinks that they don't need any lengthy, drawn-out farewells now. So, she asks if they do, they both simultaneously activate their ultimate skills, unleashing the apex of their power. Calendarer summons the Star of Despair, a cosmic entity that voraciously swallows everything in its path, appropriately named Desperatio. Meanwhile, Larathia summons the sole duty of governing life, a powerful manifestation known as Viata. Viata and Desperatio stand formidable, facing each other across the devastated landscape. They are both instructing their summoned entities to take one more decisive step forward from their current positions. They both rush violently at each other, intending to deliver fatal blows. As they collide with immense force, an overwhelming explosion occurs. The entire area rumbles violently, and a significant amount of blinding light erupts from the point of impact. Calendarer and Larathia stare intently at each other, and Calendarer rises from the dust and debris after the devastating collision. Larathia observes, with a resigned expression, that her attack did not work as intended, which she acknowledges is truly a shame. But she thinks that if this is the very reason for her existence, then she can accept that outcome. Rathia's face is drenched in blood, a testament to the brutal exchange. She tells Calendarer to defeat her, while simultaneously activating her next skill. She enables her ego skill, Fertilizer of Life. She forms a glowing ball of energy and then releases it, allowing it to float menacingly in the air. Calendarer tells Rathia that she has truly had a great time engaging in this battle. Calendarer then also enables her formidable skill called Orb of Despair. She strikes Rathia with her powerful Orb of Despair. A brilliant light begins to glow intensely around them. With a sudden, cataclysmic boom, the mighty world tree tragically falls apart, its immense form collapsing into ruin. The little rabbit monster, now named Pallet, begins to feel a sickening, suffocating sensation that literally takes her breath away. It must mean, she realizes with a dreadful certainty, that the world tree has indeed fallen, and the delicate balance of the world has been irrevocably broken. Calendarer begins to step menacingly towards Ignis. She tells Ignis, with a chilling smirk, that she is the next one to fall. The little rabbit monster, Pallet, to whom Olivia so lovingly gave a name, defiantly asserts her new name, "My name is Pallet," and staunchly refuses to let Calendarer go anywhere near Ignis. Pallet stands bravely in front of Ignis, blocking Calendarer's path. Calendarer stares intently at Pallet, who realizes, with a sense of grim acceptance, that this is the very end for her. Calendarer opens her fist and moves deliberately towards Pallet. She reaches out to grab Pallet by the face. Calendarer was about to seize Pallet's face when suddenly, with a burst of unexpected power, Ignis delivers a direct hit to Calendarer's hand. A loud banging noise echoes, and in that moment, Ignis gains the dragon's second ego of grief. The creator observes Ignis, noting that she has awakened a second ego, a profound and unexpected development. The creator thinks that if she continues to consider Ignis merely as the daughter, then she is going to find herself in deep trouble. She is acutely aware that Ignis will now have to prepare to put her very life on the line to prove her existence worthy. On the contrary, Calendarer and Rathia are standing directly before each other, their fierce battle momentarily paused. Calendarer wonders if what she just witnessed was another ego awakening. Ignis looks incredibly aggressive, her face contorted with fury. She grinds her teeth, a guttural sound, and her eyes have turned a vivid, terrifying red. She then begins to laugh loudly, a sound devoid of mirth, filled instead with a chilling madness. Calendarer looks at Ignis, who now seems completely out of it, consumed by her newfound rage. Calendarer makes it unequivocally clear to Ignis that it matters not if a new ego has awakened within her, because it will not change absolutely anything in the grand scheme of things. Ignis is consumed by rage and aggression, her entire being radiating raw power. She bounces with incredible force towards Calendarer. Calendarer moves her hand forward to strike Ignis. But Ignis immediately shifts, displaying lightning-fast reflexes. She maneuvers to Calendarer's back and grabs her by the neck. She unleashes a deafening roar, a primal sound, and then ferociously chomps down on Calendarer's arm. Calendarer receives a system notification detailing the dragon's curse, which informs her that it is incurable. It also states that its increased damage is approximately 35. Calendarer cannot believe that Ignis could inflict such a curse upon her, especially considering Calendarer herself primarily utilizes darkness-type skills. She realizes, with a bitter taste, that Ignis's skills have now far exceeded her own resistance. Ignis jumps onto the ground, her gaze fixed on Calendarer. She continues to roar like a monstrous beast, a chilling sound that echoes through the devastated landscape. Ignis grins malevolently after looking at Calendarer, savoring her fear. She delivers a brutal slash to Calendarer and then follows it up with a powerful kick directly to Calendarer's face. With her formidable dragon nails, she strikes Calendarer once more. A booming sound occurs, and Ignis activates her terrifying skill, Crimson Spirit. A vast magic circle appears on the ground beneath them. A notification flashes in front of Ignis, stating that all her Parmea parameters are now multiplied by an astonishing 4044. Ignis leaps onto the ground again, still appearing like a truly fearless and unstoppable monster. She hits Calendarer, and a thundering voice erupts from the impact. The entire place begins to violently rumble because of the immense, overwhelming powers now wielded by Ignis. Calendarer retaliates, striking Ignis and yelling at her to die. An intense flash of light momentarily blinds the area. Ignis remains standing, unyielding, and then she deftly jumps to the other side to save herself from the counterattack. Her arm, shattered by the blow, breaks off and falls some distance away. Ignis's arm is completely broken. Calendarer grinds her teeth together in frustration, witnessing that Ignis willingly sacrificed her arm to ensure her own survival. Ignis smirks, a sign of her cold resolve. She activates an ego skill called the Blade of the Dragon of Despair. Calendarer realizes, with a jolt of recognition, that she has experienced this specific kind of immense pressure before. She is absolutely sure that it is her. After this realization, she thinks that in this dire case, she should no longer be holding herself back, no longer suppressing her true strength. She activates the Dragon of Despair, an awakened form aptly named the Queen of Despair. Here begins the final battle, with their very lives hanging precariously in the balance. Ignis and Calendarer stand face to face, their expressions grim. Palette knows, with a profound certainty, that this is their ultimate confrontation, and they will pour every last ounce of their being into this fight. She is acutely aware that this fight will bring everything to a conclusive end, once and for all. They both decide to see how this plays out, and Calendarer activates her skill, Call of Despair. Some purplish-colored clouds appear ominously above Calendarer. Calendarer summons all of the monsters under her command to relentlessly attack Ignis. Ignis exerts her vast powers and forcefully pulls the attacking monsters away from her. A blinding flashing light appears there, and Ignis, after utilizing her formidable skills and powers, systematically kills every single monster present. The blood of those defeated monsters begins to drip, staining the ground. And Calendarer enables the embodiment of despair. She possesses a curse, and then she proceeds to strangle her victims. Calendarer immediately rushes towards Ignis and seizes her throat. She continues to press down on Ignis, her grip tightening, and Calendarer steps forward, closing the distance. She tells Ignis that she is the first one to perform so exceptionally well, but she still asserts, with unwavering confidence, that Ignis will never truly win against her. She sees that the time has finally come for them to bring an end to all of this conflict. Calendarer activates her skill, which is the sword of evil called Glandut. She holds Glandut firmly and begins to advance towards Ignis. She slashes fiercely at Ignis's head. She thinks, with a sense of finality, that everything should have concluded here, as fate would have perfectly orchestrated it. She grips Ignis by the neck, who is frozen in place, utterly paralyzed. Calendarer is about to cut Ignis's throat when the system suddenly notifies them about the seed of fate called Livingstone Daisy. It is proclaimed as the flower of equality. Calendarer sees that the skill of a dead ego monster has been initiated, a shocking development. Rathia appears on the scene, who knows that Olivia left behind the seed of fate, which then flowered into a living stone daisy that possesses a unique and extraordinary effect. It instantly equalizes the Parmea parameters of all opponents that are present within its powerful aura. Calendarer scoffs at this, telling Rathia that garbage is still garbage with a flower on top. She asks, with a sarcastic tone, if Rathia truly believes a mythical rank skill would even work on her. Rathia smiles subtly at Calendarer and tells her, with a knowing calm, that they will indeed see if it will work on her. The system then notifies them about another skill, which is Lives Fertilizer. This skill changes one opponent's rank to the highest exclusive rank available. The system introduces the Flower of Heaven's Living Daisy, whose rank is now officially exclusive. An explosion happens there, causing a vast cloud of dust to billow all around them. The system then notifies them of the unique field, the Land of Equality, where two opponents will have precisely the same parameters for a duration of 120 seconds. Calendarer sees that it appears this will truly be the final stage for both of them. Calendar attacks Ignis with her sword, lunging forward with grim determination. Ignis also steps towards Calendar, her gaze unwavering. She tells Calendar to look at her daughter, Raffle, who has grown so much into a formidable warrior. Now, Ignis finally feels like she understands what Raffle had said to her long ago. She realizes, with a new sense of purpose, that it is the profound time to keep her promise. She posed a profound question, asking if her companion understood their very presence in this world. For herself, awareness had simply arrived, finding her already existing within its embrace. Her initial inquiry, the first thought to truly surface, revolved around the inherent purpose of her birth. Every entity brought forth into this existence held a unique narrative, a personal saga. Calendar, the sole dragon of despair, was destined to usher everything towards ultimate ruin. This profound destiny, this inherent calling, was the very essence of her creation, a divine mandate if one chose to perceive it as such. An irrepressible instinct, deeply ingrained within her being, compelled her with an intensity she found impossible to resist. It was this irresistible pull that ultimately dictated her choices. She mused on what this destined path, her inherent calling, might unfold for her, whether its outcome would be benevolent or malevolent. The scene then abruptly transitioned to a monstrous figure who vehemently chastised Calendar, demanding to know the reason for her actions. The monster's voice resonated with fury as she asserted their shared nature, proclaiming them all to be monsters. Calendar readily acknowledged their collective monstrous essence in the presence of individual egos, much like her own. Yet, she reasoned that this shared identity did not preclude her from ending another's existence. With grim resolve, she commanded the monster to perish. Without hesitation, she activated her formidable despair bomb skill. The powerful blast erupted. But in a sudden flash, a girl intervened, shielding and saving the monster from the devastating impact. The girl inquired about the monster's well-being, her appearance seemingly a product of destiny's intricate design. Calendar's gaze fell upon Florith, and she immediately branded her a hypocrite. It appeared that wherever Calendar ventured, Florith inevitably materialized, obstructing her progress at every turn. Florith, recognizing Calendar, noted that it was indeed her nemesis once more. Calendar consistently thwarted her objectives. At first, it even felt as though their encounters were part of a meticulously pre-written narrative. Florith's persistence was remarkable, her constant interference undeniable. Florith explained her actions, stating she was merely fulfilling her responsibilities as a protector, yet Calendar perceived this as an outright falsehood. Every dragon in this world, Calendar believed, possessed an intrinsic destructive urge, and Florith, she thought, must be no different. Calendar derided Florith, mocking her attempts to embody the role of a heroic dragon, or perhaps, Calendar mused, it was simply an act of audacious shamelessness. Florith conceded that Calendar's assertion regarding dragons being harbingers of destruction was accurate, and that indeed applied to her as well. However, Florith contended that instinct and ideals were fundamentally aligned, despite their seemingly contradictory appearances. This was, in truth, an astonishing reply, especially as Florith was actively pursuing an ideal that transcended her innate instincts. Furthermore, every aspect of Florith seemed novel and fresh to Calendar. Thus, their time together unfolded for a considerable duration. Calendar initiated her potent skill, the Sword of Evil, Glandut. Concurrently, Florith unleashed her own formidable ability, the Sword of Rage, Madrayer. Both glared intensely at each other. And the epic confrontation between them commenced. Calendar knew, as had been the case countless times before, that their battle would simply not reach a definitive conclusion. Florith, too, concurred with Calendar's observation. Calendar then looked at Florith, posing a bewildered question about her current actions. She admitted her lack of comprehension but pressed Florith, questioning if her endeavors were so crucially important that they compelled her to defy her predetermined destiny. She repeatedly asked Florith the reason for her unwavering commitment. Florith responded that Calendar was misdirecting her inquiry. Her current state was not merely a consequence of external influences. Instead, her chosen actions were what truly completed her essence. Her unwavering convictions and resilience, the intricate interplay of her instincts and ideals, even her demeanor and the very way she articulated her thoughts, all these elements coalesced to forge her true identity. That was the profound truth she articulated. She emphasized that the journey of self-construction began with these most fundamental elements. Calendarer, intrigued, then asked Florith what course of action she intended to take to fully realize herself. Florith candidly told Calendarer that she typically disregarded the opinions of others, which explained her disinterest in her own predetermined calling. She had transcended the conventional meaning of life bestowed upon her by this world and was in the process of imbuing her own existence with a novel significance. This realization initially made Calendarer feel as though her very existence was being invalidated. Yet, surprisingly, she found herself not rejecting Florith's perspective. Florith stated that if that was her inherent purpose, she would not deny it. Calendarer supposed that she was merely anticipating her own eventual conclusion, much as things stood in that very moment. Calendarer then challenged Florith, asking if her current stance didn't contradict her stated ideals. Florith contemplated, suggesting that perhaps when the inevitable moment arrived, they simply had to contend fiercely for the principles they championed. Calendarer offered a faint grin, and after a significant passage of time, an internal shift occurred within her. She gave birth to Ignis. Calendarer observed the newborn, questioning if this was indeed Florith's child. Florith chuckled softly, inviting Calendarer to truly observe Ignis, pointing out that the child possessed Calendarer's very own eyes. This revelation completely disarmed Calendarer. She found herself unable to engage in combat while cradling the infant. She then questioned Florith, asking who she truly was. Florith responded with a laugh, playfully asking Calendarer if she was feeling a touch of envy. Calendarer clarified, stating she was merely curious about the appearance of the father. Florith, however, concluded that Calendarer was indeed envious. From a dragon's perspective, the elapsed time was undeniably brief. Nevertheless, after witnessing Florith in that state, Calendarer's own instincts intensified, almost as if spurred by a competitive urge. Concurrently, a sense of something far more significant began to resonate within her. Numerous elements materialized around them, and Florith's child, Ignis, steadily matured. Calendarer realized that life had become considerably more bearable until she overheard a pivotal announcement from Florith. Florith was on the verge of conveying something crucial and inquired if there was another request for babysitting. Florith revealed that her family had garnered the attention of God, and to her knowledge, her own demise was imminent. Calendarer, incredulous, demanded to know what kind of grotesque jest this was. She observed Florith's silence, noting the grim seriousness etched upon her face. Shocked by her expression, Calendarer pressed her, asking if she was genuinely serious. Florith expressed her hope that Calendarer would ultimately achieve her deepest aspirations. She acknowledged Calendarer's efforts to suppress her destructive instincts. However, she emphasized that Calendarer was her cherished friend, and thus, she wished for her to live a life pursuing whatever she desired. Calendarer then asked Florith if she was aware that her child would perish by Calendarer's own hands, and Florith affirmed this grim fate. Florith requested that Calendarer show no leniency towards her child whenever they encountered each other in the future. She advised Calendarer to recognize that her children possessed far greater substance than she might imagine, even surpassing the potency of anyone she knew. Florith confessed her long-held desire to express her profound gratitude to Calendarer, the one who had acknowledged her very existence. Florith informed Calendarer that she would simply rest for a brief while. She asserted that if she were to be slain, she would pursue her killer relentlessly, regardless of any instructions given. She expressed her earnest hope that Calendarer would persist in her actions even after her own demise. She was certain that Calendarer would eventually encounter her children. Florith instructed Calendarer that when that time came, she wished for her to engage them in combat with every ounce of her strength, so that she might witness her children's unparalleled power. Returning to the present moment, Calendarer observed that everything had unfolded precisely as Florith had foretold. As Ignis appeared to have lost her grasp on sanity, Calendarer requested a favor from Pallet. Palette continued to gaze at Calendarer, who then handed her the item belonging to Taffas. Calendarer informed Palette that she would now open the gate and implored her to ensure Ignis's safety. She desired Ignis's well-being because, at the conclusion of that path, an adversary awaited whom even her mother had been unable to vanquish. Yet, if Ignis truly was her mother's daughter, Calendarer was confident in her ability to succeed. With a faint smile, she speculated that she had once again been outmaneuvered by Florith. She felt an overwhelming longing for Florith. Essentially, the monsters were brought into this world with an inherent purpose. Calendarer discovered the worth of her life by embracing her instincts, whereas Florith found her meaning through her ideals. Yet, Calendarer contemplated that Florith must have concluded that the roles assigned at birth might not always be appropriate for individuals. This was the answer she sought regarding the world's purpose. And now, Calendarer chose to place her trust in Florith's daughter, Ignis, to uncover those profound truths. The world tree served as the definitive scale upon which the equilibrium of this entire world rested. Consequently, when the world tree succumbed to fire, this delicate balance was shattered. This cataclysmic event led to a substantial increase in the ferocity and power levels of all monsters, including the formidable eagle monsters. Eventually, this escalating situation garnered widespread attention across the world, prompting an official investigation. The inquiry revealed the existence of certain players who harbored extreme hostility towards the monsters. Simultaneously, other individuals had established organizations dedicated to protecting monsters and advocating for their equal treatment. These benevolent organizations subsequently formed guilds within the game to meticulously execute their charitable objectives. However, in the end, people consistently returned to the same fundamental query: the underlying reason for the game's initial creation. To this day, no one possesses the definitive answer to that enigmatic question. Somewhere within the vast demon world, the 12th prince of the West demon world, Pomra, exuded immense joy. He burst into laughter upon learning that someone had finally succeeded in destroying the world tree. He realized that all his elaborate preparations were at last complete. Consequently, he firmly believed that this world was now his for the taking. Unexpectedly, he was suddenly assailed from out of nowhere. A powerful blast erupted at his location. Harkmorph, who held the second rank, was the one responsible for the impactful strike. She challenged him, asking who had granted him permission to claim the world. Harkmorph struck him again, asserting his inherent weakness. She then smirked. Pulling up a digital screen directly before her, she mused that the entire endeavor was simply about accumulating the necessary points. Therefore, she concluded that she was now prepared to actively participate. She wondered if she truly anticipated the impending final battle. She pondered why the Dark Lord was presumed to be her sole target. She began to consider whether she should, once again, push her limits too far. Ignis finally managed to acquire Taffas's fourth vital item. However, in the process, she endured the devastating loss of something she held most dear, something she never wished to relinquish. This profound experience became the most traumatic memory etched within her existing consciousness, plunging her into a deep, panic-induced coma, leading her into a prolonged, restorative sleep. Ignis and Palette stepped onto the designated spot, and the two of them were then transported back to the entrance via the portal. Yet, nothing remained there save for the indelible traces of a ferocious battle across most scenes, which were as brutal and scarred as a village ravaged by war. Lying amidst the devastation was a single feather, most likely belonging to the perpetrators. Who, in the entire world, could this mysterious adversary be? Palette reminded Ignis that they had never learned the attacker's name. She confirmed with Ignis that they had indeed acquired it. Ignis simply ceased speaking after that. Or perhaps, it was more accurate to say that Ignis had lost the very capacity for speech. Palette gently told Ignis that they needed to depart, as they had to locate their brother. Palette took Ignis's hand, suggesting they embark on an adventure. It was only after suffering a loss that they truly comprehended its profound significance. Nevertheless, the only viable course of action was to continue moving forward, just as they had always done. For a significant period after their involvement at the World Tree concluded, she journeyed aimlessly with Ignis. She found herself utterly directionless, unsure of where to proceed or what steps to take next. She surmised that she lacked the inherent strength to accomplish anything independently. Still, she could not abandon her efforts just yet if she genuinely harbored the desire to effect meaningful change. Palette reassured Ignis that she would return shortly. Ignis remained silent, her gaze fixed on Palette. The scene then shifted to a temporary shelter designated for adventurers. Such convenient havens had been established across the globe. Apparently, despite their monstrous nature, they seamlessly integrated due to the abundance of available costumes within this game. They were expected to be entirely self-sufficient in this environment, including procuring their own sustenance. However, the monsters experienced no hunger, they had no need for food. Instead, they were diligently searching for specific medicinal herbs. She was uncertain if these herbs would prove effective, but she held on to the hope that they would provide some aid. Since then, this remained her singular focus. Palette consulted a book, pondering if this location was indeed the correct one. A particular flower within the book evoked memories of Olivia, bringing tears to her eyes. Palette resolved to remain strong, especially given Ignis's unwell state. She continued to pore over the book. Holding the herbs in her hand, she began to gather them. And after collecting a sufficient quantity, she realized they might be enough. Palette offered a greeting, and the shelter manager, George, inquired about her foraging activities, addressing her and her young adventurers. Palette presented her handbook, explaining that it had been of immense assistance. She was confident that her partner, too, would appreciate its utility. She thanked George, who expressed his pleasure at her words and hoped they would enjoy their stay. Small acts of kindness like this were profoundly valued during such trying times. They were fortunate that this particular location was not widely popular, as even without the need for food, they still required sleep. And though she felt lost and uncertain, she knew her paramount duty was to protect Ignis. This was a promise she had made to Olivia. Palette urged Ignis to try the medicinal herb soup, admitting that its taste was far from pleasant. She pressed Ignis, asking if she didn't agree that all medicine generally had an odd flavor. She then moved the spoon towards Ignis. Palette attempted to feed Ignis but observed that Ignis still found herself unable to consume anything. Utterly at a loss, Palette began to weep. She confessed to Ignis that she felt utterly helpless without her. She sensed herself losing something precious once more. Memories flooded back, the nameless golem who had saved her life, and her teammates with whom she had vowed to instigate genuine change. It felt as though these vital connections were slowly drifting away. Palette implored Ignis that if she were to lose her, she would never be able to regain her footing. She began pleading, desperately urging Ignis to awaken. Tears streamed down her face as she continued to cry, begging Ignis to regain consciousness. Murmurs rippled through the people outside the camp. George inquired of his people about the source of the commotion. An adventurer named Henny Jack informed George that a diminutive beast here had stolen from him. Henny vociferously shouted at the surrounding individuals, asserting that the creature was indeed a monster. In fact, he claimed, only monsters would commit such a deed, and he had forcibly seized a small, crying girl. The girl swore to God that she had no idea what he meant, vehemently denying ever stealing anything from anyone. Henny was convinced that intelligent players knew better than to pilfer from others, as the risks far outweighed the rewards. It was never cost-effective. He concluded that only foolish monsters would engage in such behavior. George asked Henny Jack why he couldn't calm himself for a moment. At that opportune moment, Palette entered the scene. She confronted Henny, questioning if he wasn't being overly harsh, especially since he hadn't actually witnessed her stealing anything. Henny retorted, asking Palette who she was, a mere monster daring to defend another monster. Palette defiantly demanded how he dared utter such words. Henny mockingly dismissed her. He turned his face away, telling her to forget the trivial matter, as the item in question wasn't worth much anyway. Palette hurled an insult at him. The young monster then looked at Palette and thanked her for intervening and saving her. She drew close to Palette, whispering into her ear that she had, in fact, stolen from him. Palette was utterly shocked by this admission. The monster confided in Palette that, regrettably, Henny had been correct. Perhaps he had suspected her due to his bullying demeanor. The monster advised Palette to always remember not to blindly believe everything she perceived. She then mockingly addressed Palette as Miss Clumsy Monster and departed. That was, without a doubt, a monster. Palette mused that perhaps many of their kind still lived in such a manner. She couldn't help but feel that saving the world might prove far more complex than she had initially anticipated. She noticed flyers affixed to a wall. Having not seen these before, she inquired of George if they were new. George informed her that these flyers had been posted worldwide but warned her that they advertised extremely dangerous propositions, strongly advising her against accepting them. Palette examined the flyer closely. She recognized the figure depicted as Harkmorph and wondered if this was indeed the second-ranked individual. She was utterly astonished to confirm that it was. George elaborated, stating that rumor had it Harkmorph herself had put up the posters. The posters declared that if someone defeated her at a specific time and location, she would grant them anything they desired. Palette asked George if Harkmorph was intentionally provoking them. George explained that Harkmorph typically proposed light sparring before the main battle, but no one had ever managed to overcome even that initial challenge. He reiterated his warning, urging her to steer clear of such a perilous endeavor. However, Palette knew that she had to fight to rescue her brother, Taffas. An opportunity like this might never present itself again. She resolved that she must go. George admitted that since there were so few challengers, the nature of Harkmorph's tests remained largely unknown. But one thing was certain, no one had ever emerged victorious against her. Furthermore, Harkmorph had meticulously provided the location and precise coordinates. Given that it was situated far from the Anaxis, it was likely somewhere near the demon world. Palette began to ponder if she could reach that distant location while accompanying Ignis. The very presence of an ego made a substantial difference. That was how this world had been designed. She had acquired the ego of hope, but she knew it was insufficient. She questioned if her abilities would be enough to shield Ignis from yet another formidable adversary. She concluded that she had no choice but to undertake this mission. She then wondered how she would ever manage such a remote journey. Suddenly, she overheard a male voice commending her impressive act of assisting the weak. The individual was Ria, the leader of PM, who inquired if he might offer his assistance, should she be amenable. Palette, wary, asked him to identify himself and explain his reasons for wanting to help her. He offered a reassuring smile, telling her there was no need for apprehension. He stated that his sole motivation was his enjoyment of helping others. Palette was surprised by his straightforwardness. He then abruptly remembered a detail he had omitted earlier, his own introduction. He decided to provide it immediately, stating he was Ria, the leader of PM. Palette pointed out that he had neglected to mention an important detail, namely, what PM actually stood for. He realized he probably should have started there. He informed Palette that PM was the abbreviated form of protecting monsters, and that was precisely their mission. Palette was astonished to learn that a human group dedicated to safeguarding monsters actually existed. She then questioned him, asking if he was aware that she herself was a monster. He responded that he had been impressed by her actions earlier and simply wished to extend his help. He explained that this was merely one of the things he did, so she had no cause for alarm. As ego monsters, they had become a significant topic among humans, making them highly prized trophies exchanged at exorbitant prices. Under such precarious circumstances, she was uncertain whether to trust humans or not. Nevertheless, she decided to accept his assistance, informing him of her willingness to receive his help. She wasn't sure if the second-ranked individual, like Nandemic, would be friendly towards monsters. She realized she had no time to waste wandering around aimlessly. She thought it would be better to seize this chance while she had it. Ria smiled warmly at her. He commended her decision and instructed her to bring her friend along. he assured her that he would transport them to the location closest to their destination. She resolved to retrieve her friend, stepping towards Ignis and taking her hand. She informed Rhea that she was ready. George observed the distinctive cape Ignis was wearing. Rhea told Pallet that she had done an excellent job by bringing Ignis along, and with that, he instantly teleported them. He utilized consumable items, which were portable and facilitated high-level teleportation. Pallet held Ignis's hand as a sudden blinding flash enveloped them. Rhea expressed his hope that they would both enjoy their adventure. Pallet smiled, silently wishing Ignis not to worry, for she recalled that it was Ignis who had taught her never to surrender. Therefore, there was no way she would abandon her. They both successfully teleported. Rhea then recalled seeing a person on one of those posters wearing a similar cape. He mused that there were, indeed, many red capes circulating. He wondered what might have transpired if she had been that particular individual. All he knew for certain was that she would ultimately have to choose between two opposing sides, the world of humans and the world of monsters. He understood that she would inevitably face a crucial decision, and he was aware that this was how events would ultimately unfold. After what felt like an interminable journey through the disorienting teleportation portal, they finally reached their intended destination, the field of black plains. Pallet perceived the atmosphere as suffocating and wondered if this was indeed the demon world. A wave of nervousness washed over her. She suddenly paused for a moment. Her gaze fixed on something before her, and she wondered if this was the second-ranked individual. The second-ranked person was seated in a chair. She asked Pallet who she was, questioning if she was the next challenger. Pallet was certain that this was the individual depicted on the poster. Harkmorph greeted her, inquiring if Pallet was truly the one who wished to challenge her. She observed them, concluding that they appeared quite weak in her presence. Pallet knew she would never be able to defeat her alone, nor was she foolish enough to attempt it. Harkmorph had posted those flyers to accumulate points for the ultimate quest, assuming the challengers weren't worth many points, and if things unfolded favorably as they had with Nandemic. Pallet approached Harkmorph, asking what she thought about discussing their situation. Harkmorph agreed to listen to whatever Pallet wished to convey. After that, Pallet recounted Ignis's story to her and explained her need for the item. Pallet also detailed the adventures they had endured. Upon hearing Pallet's narrative, Harkmorph concluded that it was undeniably an unfortunate tale. She informed Pallet that she did possess the item in question and had not even attempted to upgrade it. Pallet asked if Harkmorph could simply give her the item, and Harkmorph agreed. However, she also made it clear that anyone desiring the item must successfully complete her test. Thus, if Ignis wished for the item, she would have to pass the test on her own. Harkmorph revealed that the test was arm wrestling. Pallet did not comprehend the meaning of arm wrestling. Harkmorph, for Pallet's information, stated that she was left-handed. Harkmorph grinned. And Pallet began to worry about Ignis, who was expected to arm wrestle her with her left hand. But Pallet feared that Ignis was currently unable to use her left arm. She asked Harkmorph if they could acquire the item through a different test. Harkmorph expressed sympathy for Pallet but stated she could not provide the item without the designated test. She refused to grant the reward based solely on a story whose veracity she could not confirm. Pallet realized that Harkmorph was being reasonable. They could not ask a stranger for such charity, as it was a matter of trust. However, she also knew that Ignis was in no condition to perform any task, let alone pass the test. She began to strategize a way to persuade Harkmorph to give them the item. One positive development was that Harkmorph, the second-ranked individual, was not overtly hostile towards them. She understood that they simply needed to devise a method to pass the test. She knew that if only Ignis would awaken. Harkmorph then made a startling suggestion to Pallet: she could always bring Olivia back to life. Pallet was utterly shocked by this revelation. She questioned Harkmorph, asking if such a feat was truly possible. Harkmorph affirmed her query. Harkmorph informed her that a hidden dungeon lay deep within the demon world, where one could exchange anything to resurrect someone. Regular players and monsters simply respawned upon death within the game. Only pets in exceptional cases were eligible for this specific exchange. However, since the risks within this dungeon far outweighed the potential rewards, visitors were a rarity, though not for this particular team. The three of them entered the dungeon. Palette asked Harkmorph if she was certain she wished to accompany them. Harkmorph smiled, telling Palette that she had nothing better to do before the ultimate battle. She thought it was a good idea to occasionally raid a hidden dungeon. Palette realized that, much like Nandemic, not every human being was inherently malicious. Harkmorph informed Palette that this particular dungeon was renowned for its extreme difficulty, but she quickly reassured her that there was no need to worry. Her eyes began to flash ominously. She declared to Palette that she could eliminate anyone who dared obstruct their path. Palette felt a sudden chill. She believed that the sheer murderous intent emanating from Harkmorph's eyes was enough to induce suffocation. Therefore, it was no wonder that she held the second rank. Palette was immensely relieved that Harkmorph was being kind to her. Harkmorph, eager to proceed, told Palette that they should begin moving forward without delay. They traversed the extensive dungeon and finally located the elusive place they sought. Palette observed what appeared to be the two doors of the hopeless exchange. She asked Harkmorph, seeing the two distinct doors, which one they should choose. Harkmorph informed her that the first door was the door of hardship, precisely as its name implied. Behind it awaited a challenge that would endure for several hours. She further explained that it involved an unknown battle against a hidden boss. Palette learned that this dungeon was quite similar to the World Tree dungeon. A shortcut that could replace a more protracted challenge would inevitably present far greater difficulty. Harkmorph told Palette that there was one crucial detail she needed to remember. Harkmorph would only accompany her as far as the process leading up to the transaction itself. She unequivocally clarified to Palette that after that point, Palette would have to proceed alone, as Harkmorph had no intention of assisting a coward who could not act independently. Palette assured her that she was well aware of this and required no further reminders. Harkmorph grinned after hearing Palette's firm response. She thought that now was the opportune moment for some excitement. She slid open the door, revealing a transaction agent named Karani standing within. He observed their arrival and, addressing them, declared that because they had chosen to evade their hardships, they would undoubtedly regret their presence. He labeled them challengers and instructed them to approach him. Harkmorph told Palette and Ignis to step aside for a moment. She mused that if she had an entire Zero Guild accompanying her, it would be effortless to eliminate him. However, she believed that raiding a boss alone was far more intricate than they might perceive. She then activated her unlimited form change. The system promptly displayed a notification: Harkmorph, ranked second, had initiated the boss battle. The scene then transitioned to some unknown characters, and one of them inquired of another if he was certain that people would come searching for such a meager price. The individual asked Rush if he didn't think they should increase the offer. Rush sternly silenced him, asserting that the money was hard-earned, and they would not spend a single coin more than this. They had located a witness in a temporary shelter. A teleportation portal was involved, which would allow them to track their targets from that point. He then hurled his sword at Ignis's poster, declaring their imminent arrival for her. Karani warned them to brace themselves, as they would have to pay a price for their presence here. Harkmorph laughed, telling Karani that she was already eagerly anticipating the confrontation. Palette realized that the very atmosphere here was shaking her to her core. Their palpable intent to kill permeated her senses, seeping into her bones through her skill. She understood that if Harkmorph emerged victorious, she could indeed resurrect Olivia. She comprehended that this fight represented her sole opportunity to bring Olivia back to life. Harkmorph glared at Karani, a smirk playing on her lips. Without a moment's hesitation, she surged towards Karani. She activated her rage/skill. The ground beneath them began to rumble violently. Karani, calling her incredibly arrogant, challenged her to come and face the trial she deserved. He then activated his orb of destruction. Harkmorph observed that her rage passed through him as if he were made of air. She knew that immunity to physical attacks was a formidable challenge. So Karanti extended his hand towards Harkmorph, commanding her to return to ashes. As soon as he moved his hand in her direction, a massive explosion occurred. Harkmorph was confident in her ability to evade his attacks, even considering them slow. She activated the skill warrior senses, and a warning window appeared on her screen. She was informed that the curse of the unknown permeated this area. Through her senses, she could discern the enemy's skills or the nature of the threat she faced. Although the information was fragmented, this sense functioned like a radar for imminent danger. At that moment, she only knew that physical attacks were ineffective against him. However, she believed she didn't need to worry, as her awakened form offered a unique ability. She leaped towards Karanti, who swiftly blocked Harkmorph's assault. Palette observed both of them engaged in a furious battle. The sheer concentration of mana alone caused the earth to tremor. The resulting shockwave was powerful enough to completely engulf her. Harkmorph and Karanti stared intensely at each other. Karanti was consumed with anger, while Harkmorph's face was flushed with her own escalating rage. Karanti delivered a direct hit to Harkmorph, who clenched her hand. The object Karanti had thrown towards Harkmorph exploded with a booming sound. Harkmorph smirked, eyeing Karanti. Karanti unleashed his ultimate skill, the Big Bang attack, which detonated with a thunderous explosion. Harkmorph activated her warrior's protection. She realized that this skill appeared to be a curse specifically applied to mana, and then she recalled a simple method to counteract it. She resolved to obliterate all traces of the ground. Boss monsters typically adhered to specific routines. However, when a routine was disrupted, they were compelled to employ their killer skill. He activated the unknown skill. And Harkmorph smiled. After observing him, amidst an explosion, she began to fracture the ground. Another notification materialized on the screen, detailing the tenacity of the Berserker, a function that allowed one to survive a lethal attack with just one hit point remaining. One of the most exceptional features offered by her unlimited form was now perfectly primed for use. The lower a Berserker's hit points, the more explosive the statistical boost they received. The lower a Berserker's hit points, the more explosive the statistical boost they received. However, this power did not come without limitations. A crucial factor determining this limit was the amount of damage sustained within a specific time frame. Greater damage in a shorter period, implying a higher risk, resulted in a lower limit. Consequently, being struck by a killer skill and entering a near-death state with a single devastating blow reduced the limit to its absolute minimum. She understood that her unlimited form transcended all such constraints. She decided to concentrate all the damage she intended to inflict onto a single, precise point. With an immense flash of power, she struck Karanti. The .0 skill was activated. The entire area turned crimson, devoid of any signs of survival. The ground continued to rumble. Palette continued to observe them with a sense of awe. She realized, without a doubt, that Harkmorph was truly the second-ranked individual. Karanti informed her that she had successfully passed her trial, and Palette saw that their plan had indeed worked. She concluded that Karanti must be the one capable of bringing Olivia back to life. She told Karanti that she wished to revive an ego monster named Olivia, the flower slime. She then inquired about the price they had to pay. Karanti remembered the ego monster she was referring to, Olivia, the flower slime. He informed Palette that her soul would be inextricably linked to the resurrected entity. If one of them perished, the other would also automatically die. Palette was astonished to hear about the concept of a linked soul, where the demise of one automatically led to the death of the other. Karanti then requested an item that belonged to the deceased monster. They had managed to defeat the hidden monster with the aid of the second-ranked individual. However, she suddenly realized that she possessed no items belonging to Olivia. Olivia had been an ego monster, and thus, she had simply vanished upon death before she could leave anything behind. Palette had nothing that belonged to her. Karanti then told Palette that she seemed to have an item belonging to a deceased ego monster. He pointed towards the object the golem had given her. Palette was shocked to see him indicating that specific item. Karanti looked at Palette's surprised face and confirmed that her guess was correct. He asked her why she hadn't brought that monster back to life. Palette realized that Karanti was suggesting she revive the golem instead of Olivia. She felt utterly lost, pondering how she could ever judge which of their lives held more significance. Palette clenched her hand, and for a brief moment, allowed herself to imagine. She envisioned him being here, in the real world, where they could forge genuine memories, not confined to that place where she would never be permitted to meet him again until her own death. She imagined reaching out for his hand once more. Tears began to stream down her face as she pictured all these scenarios in her mind. She thought about the unknown golem, recalling the name he had bestowed upon her. His precious name had been given to her by him. She spoke her own name, Palette, and expressed her enduring regret at never being able to give him one in return, as she had promised when he was still present. Palette began to wipe her face, knowing that they simply could not. She was certain that he wouldn't wish for her to resurrect him instead of another ego monster. Harkmorph observed the crying monster before her, wondering if it meant she possessed a heart. Palette recalled that the golem had always urged her to live the life he himself had desired. She was determined to live up to her chosen name, Palette. She reaffirmed her identity, reminding herself, I am Palette. With a renewed sense of purpose, she made her decision regarding who to revive. She informed Karanti that her intention was to bring Olivia back to life. Karanti instructed Palette to hand over Olivia's item if she wished for her resurrection. Palette began to search her memory for any item Olivia might have left behind. She knew she possessed none, nor did Ignis. After a period of concentrated thought, she sensed something. At that precise moment, Rush materialized, his gaze sweeping over numerous faces he hadn't seen in a considerable while. He launched an attack at Palette from a distance, but Palette swiftly evaded his strike. Karanti, in a blur of motion, snatched Rush's weapon. Rush grinned, having eagerly anticipated this day for a long time. He greeted Ignis, mockingly referring to her as a scumbag. Palette stared at him, unsure if he would pursue them further. She perceived his overwhelming aura, prompting her to wonder about this man's identity. The individuals accompanying Rush began to advance toward Ignis and Palette, effectively surrounding them both. Rush then addressed Harkmorph, stating he was aware of her presence but surprised to find her playing house with a monster. Harkmorph assured Rush that he needn't worry, as she had no intention of interfering whatsoever. She clarified that this was the initial promise she had made to these monsters. Rush, in turn, made it clear that if Harkmorph wished to return in one piece, it would be prudent for her not to interrupt him. Harkmorph concluded that such an arrogant attitude was quite typical for a thieving lowlife like him. They both exchanged intense stares. Regardless, Rush told her she could think whatever she pleased, as long as she didn't disturb him. Kangwoo asked Rush to explain what was wrong with this particular monster. He questioned Rush if he was certain that she was the same monster they had encountered previously, noting that there was something distinctly different about her. He admitted to a nagging sense of unease. As he was about to strike Ignis, Palette cried out, vehemently demanding that they keep their hands off Ignis. She realized that this was precisely what Harkmorph had alluded to, the part of their journey she had to conquer on her own, no matter the cost. Rush stepped closer to Palette, asking her what she would be like if she were a monster. He then questioned whether she and Ignis harbored intentions of transforming the world. He informed Palette that one crucial element was missing from her understanding. He sternly reminded her that they were, and would forever remain, monsters. Palette stared at him, urging him to cease speaking in such a manner. She asserted that he wouldn't be able to voice such opinions if he himself were a monster. Rush acknowledged her desire for him to momentarily experience her perspective. He then turned the question back to her, asking if she had attempted to do the same for humans. He explained that the game existed solely because of its users, implying that she was merely a product enjoyed by consumers. He elaborated on the diverse human experience, those for whom video games were their sole solace, those who used games to unwind after a demanding workday, those who played with family and friends, and even those who earned a living through gaming. Humans, he declared, were the fundamental reason for the existence of video games. Rush asked Palette if she was attempting to negate the very origin and purpose of this world's existence. Palette realized that his words held an undeniable truth. They could not deny this fundamental reality, for it was the very reason monsters had come into being. Rush stated that if she denied the purpose of their existence, he could guarantee that humans would never accept her in this world. Palette gritted her teeth, insisting that she denied nothing. The overwhelming hostility permeated her defenseless state. She wondered what course of action to take, trembling uncontrollably. Rush declared that she would never succeed, branding them all as selfish, whining collections of beasts. Palette's rage ignited. She furiously told him to shut up. Rush observed Palette's fierce expression, realizing she simply didn't comprehend. He slashed Palette with his sword, sending her crashing to the ground. Rush advanced toward Ignis, telling her that she would never change anything. With a devilish smile, he asked Ignis if he was correct. Palette, disoriented, wondered what had just happened. She had been trying to protect Ignis, yet she had fallen. Rush laughed, telling Ignis that her beloved monster had just died and asking where her fiery ego had vanished. Ignis listened silently, offering no reply. Rush then told Ignis that, unlike game players, ego monsters became extinct the moment they died. He asked her if she intended to stand there and allow him to proceed. He activated his legendary weapon, the Dark Moon. He mused that after all the effort he had spent searching for her, he hadn't expected to find her in such a state. He believed he had merely wasted his time seeing her. He gripped his sword tightly and swung it towards Ignis, bidding her farewell. As he was about to strike Ignis, Palette, still lying on the ground, suddenly grabbed his leg, huffing with exertion. Rush turned his face toward Palette. Palette pleaded with him not to harm Ignis. Rush observed that her ego had not yet faded. Rush told Palette that the problem with her type of ego monsters was their inability to grasp that it wasn't a matter of giving up or not. He asserted that it was never about how much they tried, but rather how effectively they performed. He taunted her, asking if she was whining about how much effort she had exerted. He warned her that if monsters couldn't overcome their pathetic excuses, they would all soon face extinction. He began to move towards her, but before he could act, she activated the ego skill of Blackrock. This skill, derived from the golem himself, had been enhanced by her during her past adventures. It created a prison cell, ironically possessing the most formidable defense imaginable. She was confident that he wouldn't be able to break free so easily. Now that she understood their location, she realized she needed to leave immediately. Rush was confined within the prison she had erected. She urged Ignis that they had to escape. However, Rush shattered the penitentiary. He challenged her, asking if she truly believed she could hold him down. Palette watched in shock as Rush broke through it with such speed. Rush then changed his mind, deciding to torture her as much as he could until she perished. Currently, they lacked Olivia's item, leaving them with no hope of escaping this devastating predicament. Rush began to advance towards Palette. Palette knew that something catastrophic would occur if she used her skill again. Rush violently struck Palette's face, causing her to scream. The impact of Rush's blow triggered an explosion, shaking the entire area. Palette mustered all her remaining energy to rise once more. She reassured Ignis not to worry, promising to protect her with every fiber of her being. She realized that her wound was far more severe than she had initially thought. She knew she would soon lose consciousness, so she gritted her teeth. A dazzling, flashing light enveloped the area. Palette clung tightly to Ignis. Rush attacked her again. He stretched out his hands, directing multiple devastating attacks towards her. Palette clenched her teeth, refusing to let go of Ignis for even a moment. Rush slashed her again, and blood began to drip. Palette was severely injured, drenched in her own blood. She desperately begged Ignis to awaken, reminding her that they had nowhere else to flee. She recalled teaching Ignis to run away, asking if she remembered this lesson as she spoke. She offered a helpless smile, telling Ignis that she desperately needed her strength. Rush looked at her, asking if her emotional drama was finally over. He taunted her, urging her to prepare, as it was time to get deleted. The scene then shifted to where Ignis found herself in a space composed of nothing but pure white. She wondered where in the world she was. And Angelus unexpectedly materialized there. He remarked on the scene she had created, and Ignis recognized him. Angelus explained that this was the crack between all data. It appeared to be the first time anyone had entered this space. He informed her that ego monsters typically passed directly through this stage and became extinct. He surmised that she truly was one of the exceptional ones. Ignis told him that ever since Olivia had died, she felt as though she had been intermittently entering and exiting this space. Angelus perceived this as a disconnect between her mind and body, attributing it to the penalty of her ego of sadness. He urged her to cease mourning and depart from this place, identifying it as a rest area. Angelus was about to leave when Ignis suddenly grabbed his shirt. She implored him to explain what had happened to her. He questioned Ignis if she was prepared to confront the truth. Ignis affirmed, telling him to reveal whatever awaited her. Angelus, acknowledging her insistence, decided to show her everything, to uncover this cheap masquerade for her once and for all. Angelus instructed her to place all the items she had collected onto the ground. Ignis complied, placing the items before her. Angelus then guided her to sit down in front of the items, telling her to close her eyes and focus her mind on a single point. He reminded her that she had experienced this sensation before, urging her to try and recall what it felt like. Ignis began to remember the feeling. She knew she had certainly done something similar in Cynthia's castle. Questions had arisen then, such as why she was trying to save her brother. She had no recollection of her family, let alone her brother. She suspected she must have forgotten something significant. Key clues were then presented to her through a series of flashbacks. The system displayed a warning: she did not have permission to view the unprotected file. The system then asked if she truly wished to continue viewing. Ignis confirmed, telling the system to allow her to view the file. A flash of light emanated from the collected items. She saw her brother, Taphas, as she journeyed back into the past. She found herself in an unfamiliar place. She moved her hand, which simply passed through an object. Realizing she was merely an observer here, she began to step forward. Lush greenery enveloped the entire area. On a rainy day, she continued onward, wondering why she felt a sense of longing. She entered a house where no one was present. Suddenly, she noticed a wall where her name and Taphas's name were inscribed. Ignis wondered who could possibly live in such a place. She heard footsteps behind her, and her mother appeared. Ignis's mother remarked that she had returned sooner than expected, warmly welcoming Ignis. Ignis absorbed all the sights of her past. Although she was invisible, no one could perceive her. Her mother and Taphas's mother beckoned Ignis to come, stating that Taphas was waiting for her. Her mother began to step inside, and Ignis followed. Ignis realized this was her mother. She looked around, wondering where Taphas was. Somehow, this mysterious place filled her with a sense of nostalgia. She decided to follow the two for a while. Ignis's mother, along with her, reached a particular location. The young Ignis told her mother that she had thought it was raining outside. She observed that the place they had just arrived from was bathed in sunshine, surrounded by vibrant greenery. She told her mother that this place was incredibly mysterious. And her mother explained that it was perpetually sunny due to a system error. It was these minor glitches, her mother asserted, that rendered things precious. She asked Ignis if she didn't share the same sentiment. Ignis then saw her brother, Taphas, who greeted the old Ignis. Ignis, upon seeing them, became certain that this was her family. Suddenly, she questioned herself, why wouldn't she give up on returning to this place? She felt utterly exhausted, and another error notification appeared. It stated that the file had not been found, and the system informed her that it was loading the next file. Taphas's memories began to blur. Ignis cried out, not wanting Taffus to disappear from her. At this critical moment, the memory disk was on the verge of cracking when she suddenly witnessed Ignace's past version who had been stabbed. The old Ignace had shielded Taffus. And the present Ignace gazed at the scene, wondering if this was a part of her forgotten past. Blood dripped from the old Ignace's face. She asked her brother Taffus if he was unharmed. Taffus was also covered in blood. The unknown ego monster rescuer, who had been active since the beta period, asked the other rescuer if he was responsible for this. The ego monster rescuer asked them how much longer this would take, questioning if 10 minutes was sufficient. The ego monster rescuer noted that the target was already deceased, implying it wouldn't be much fun. The ego monster rescuer noted that the target was already deceased, implying it wouldn't be much fun. He guessed that this encounter would take less than 10 minutes. The old Ignace looked back at him. The name of the ego monster rescuer was Flames. The old Ignace asked Flames if he was human. Flames didn't even bother to respond. He simply informed them that the raid time had arrived. The old Ignace was enraged. She wondered how a mere human dared to inflict such a heinous act upon her. Without a moment's hesitation, she leaped towards Flames, intending to kill him. Flames smiled. He asked Ignace if she was ready to fight him. At that very moment, she experienced something extraordinary. She felt something tampering with her soul. She knew that her attacks never missed. She activated her rage slash. Flames stared at the old Ignace. Ignace continued to look at him, having no idea who this human was. She knew that his skills kept her off balance, but she was certain she had to defeat him for her brother. She activated the dragon's second ego, accompanied by a sudden blast. Fire engulfed the area. Flames displayed a devilish smile. He saw that this was the true enjoyment of the game. He didn't engage much with his guild. He could raid dungeons alone, but they consistently yielded the same reward. However, things would be different if he defeated a powerful ego monster like her. He believed it would be easy, given her current state. He set a timer for 10 minutes, and a screen popped up displaying the countdown. Flames enabled the maximum reward level. He stood against the boss-ranked Ignace. The Ignace within her memories, upon seeing Flames, realized that he was the leader of number 0. She wondered if she had fought him before. However, she knew she had no recollection of it. She was sure that some memories would return at the conclusion of this, along with evidence leading to her brother. The timer displayed the remaining time. Flames attacked the old Ignace. Both of their weapons clashed, and both were engaged in a fierce battle. Their faces contorted with rage. The screen showed only 5 minutes and 41 seconds remaining. A sudden blast occurred. Flames looked at Ignace, who was gathering her powers. Flames ran toward Ignace, who launched a direct attack at him. The reddish flash emanating from Ignace's attacks was incredibly sharp. The present Ignace stood there, observing the fight between the old Ignace and Flames. Suddenly, after witnessing that skill, she realized that both the old Ignace and Flames were growing weary from the prolonged battle. Ignace wondered what had just transpired. She had no idea why she couldn't move her body. As he stepped toward the old Ignace, Flames informed her that in the library, skills and weapon stats were reduced to 1/5 of their original power, but he believed that would be sufficient to kill her. He created a weapon specifically to end her. He warned her that her game was now over. The shock delivered by these past scenes began to stir some of Ignace's forgotten memories. She recalled that she had been killed by that human on that very day. The 10 minutes expired, and the old Ignace was indeed killed by Flames. Ignace didn't remember much after that, though it was merely a shadow of the past. Yet, she understood the profound meaning of that memory. The 2 stars, which marked the beginning and end of everything, had fallen from the sky that night. Ignace opened her eyes before Angelus and told him she understood everything that had happened to her. She knew he had saved her that day, and although she still didn't fully know who he was, she now perceived that he was not her enemy. Ignace requested permission to leave. Angelus informed her that an ego item served as a connection between this world and the other. He told her that since she wasn't dead yet, that item would be enough to bring her back. Ignis asked if that meant using Taphys's items wouldn't work. Angelus reiterated that, as he had said before, she wasn't dead, merely unconscious. He clarified that Taphys's items would therefore not awaken her from her slumber. By mentioning the ego item, Ignis asked him if he meant what she suspected. Suddenly, a flash occurred. Ignis smiled upon seeing it, knowing it would appear. She opened her palm, revealing the keychain resembling Olivia, which Olivia herself had given her. Ignis regained consciousness and thanked Palette for taking care of her all this time. Rush witnessed Ignis's awakening. Ignis looked at Rush as if seeing him after a long absence. Palette was overjoyed that Ignis was back, having thought she would never awaken.